Welcome to the Visual Cast, coming at you from California. I'm your host, Alon Hammer, aka Rem. The Visual Cast is a hybrid podcast where we sit down with some of the best, most interesting, and most exciting visual artists from all over the world. We chat about life, art, visuals, software, hardware, systems, crystals, alien downloads, spirituality, and catalysts. It's essentially a massive nerd out. But the guests also do a set where we dive into their computer and get an up-and-close look at how they make art, how they perform art, or really anything they want to share with us.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
Cast. I'm joined today with a great friend, a lovely collaborator, amazing VJ, super talented artist, and just an all-around beautiful human being. Dave Schunemann. Dave Schunemann. Actualize Visuals. Welcome to the podcast, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. This is cool.
Yeah, it's a long time
coming.
You're
doing this thing for all of us. I appreciate the spreading of the knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you. You're such a important part of this community and scene, so it really, having your praise means a lot. So let's jump right into it. I'd like to start off with like a more scripted question, and then we can kind of get into a more conversational thing. Dave,
sure.
You're one of the kindest and sweetest guys in our world of VJs, and you actually actualized my first U.S. performance in 2018. I think it was 2018. It might be 2019, but I think it was 2018.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
You're a master-level VJ, a super efficient and skilled projectionist and mapper. Your eye for detail and what looks cool is outstanding, and you have performed all over North America at massive notable festivals such as Electric Forest and Vision Festival and Infrasound, and worked and created content for notable artists such as Closey, 100 Drums, and LS Dream, just to name a few. Your motivation, attention, and care for the VJ world scene and for up-and-coming VJs was apparent from the moment I met you and has stayed strong, if not gotten stronger, throughout all these years. So to start things off, what is it like living the artist life in your home, in the town of Denver, surrounded by collaborators and also your friends?
Well, thank you. That was also nice. I appreciate that.
Wrong one.
It's great. I love living in Denver. I've been in Denver for about 3 years now. I moved here kind of right at the end of COVID, just because I saw that it was the hub, and also the skiing and snowboarding is insane. That was kind of what put me over the edge. I came out here for a snowboarding trip, and I was like, oh my God, like I've snowboarded in New England, but it's nothing like it is out here. So I was like, all right, they've got it all. So I moved here about 3 years ago, and, I've spent the last 3 years just meeting all sorts of other really cool people out here and, getting to play a lot of cool places and to have been able to get plugged into this community out here and, get to do so much cool stuff. It's a really cool place. There's so much happening in here in Denver, like all the time. There's like so many venues that are putting on this kind of music, from small to incredibly large, like Red Rocks, and First Bank and, Ball Arena at the highest level. But then there's also like Black Box, Cervantes, Ogden. So you have like really small cap to high cap, everything in between. And it's really cool to see, you can just kind of watch acts evolve out here, like see them go from one size room to the next and watch them grow.
That's
and,
awesome.
Being a part of the local community, it's really easy to go out there and meet all these guys. And it's been, made it really easy to to do this as a career, or not easy, but much easier than anywhere else in the country, to be able to just go to a show every Thursday and be like, oh, hey, I'm this guy and I do this thing and I can help you out if you need it. So here's my card, like,
Hell yeah.
it's been really helpful to be out here, and also just really cool to be able to play places like Red Rocks and even the Black Box. All the venues out here are kind of legendary in their own way.
Totally.
So
totally. Yeah, Black Box
it's a really
is,
cool place. I'm super
Black Box is
grateful.
super
and
legendary.
The psychedelic art scene is amazing too, with Threda and Mirrors Gallery all supporting that scene. There's like hundreds of amazing painters here too. And I'm very plugged in with that community too. I love all those guys. And every now and then I'll do projection mapping on their pieces, or
nice. That's awesome.
display like a digital piece in Mirrors. So I get to be involved with that scene too, which is also really cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it seems like the art scene is super powerful there.
I can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me? Good start. Why not?
Lost, yeah.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
There you are. Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear
Sorry
you now.
about that.
That's all right. We can fix it in post.
It definitely seems like the art scene in Denver is super powerful, and there's just like so much going on, and so like so many interesting and kind of like things happening all the time. It's like most major cities, things are happening, but it seems like the things that are happening are kind of like in our wheelhouse.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
like kind of the trajectory of like you said, the psychedelic art scene and all those cool venues. Yeah, Red Rocks and Black Box are both on my like bucket list for sure. Black Box I feel like is more in my grasp, and Red Rocks, it's like if the opportunity arises, hopefully one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. That's really awesome. Nice to hear that you're enjoying Denver. I feel like a lot of people I've been talking to recently have been wanting to make the move out there, and I'm really happy that it seems like it's the right move for them. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to
It's
go.
an amazing place.
It seems like it. I'm
It's
really
really
excited to
great.
come. I've been there once in like, I guess it was 2017. I think it was 2017 or 2016. I went there. I actually went there. Super funny story. I went there to visit an ex-girlfriend that we just broke up, and it was like, can we still do this again? And like Denver was like, I had some work there, so we met there, and we spent like the weekend together.
How did
and
it
it
go?
was great. It went good.
Oh, okay,
Obviously
nice.
we're not together. It didn't go that good, but it was it was fun seeing. It was fun. It was a good city to do that. I remember one thing really well, which is funny. The thing that I remember, but it was the first time that I had experienced a movie theater with like reclining big boy seats. I thought that was just so funny. The future, yeah. I was like, this is amazing. I love America. I want to come here and live here.
They want to get you to fall asleep, so you have to come see the movie again. It's all a ruse. It's a ploy.
Totally. Cool. So I want to go back a little bit to your upbringing. You grew up in New Hampshire, and you also went to school in New Hampshire for computer science. Before we get to the computer science aspect of it, what was it like growing up in New Hampshire? Did you grow up around, any inspiration for art, and kind of like, obviously jumping ahead and jumping back together in the same question, but kind of, just tell us a little bit about growing up there, and, kind of what was there any influence in kind of where you are right now growing up there?
So New Hampshire is an interesting place. It's especially where I live. It's kind of like southern New Hampshire, right on the border of Massachusetts. So I live right by a city called Nashua, and I definitely, I enjoyed living in New Hampshire because there's pretty good snowboarding there too. There's some
You're just
good,
like wherever the
outdoor
snowboards
sports.
are, bro.
Yeah,
Wherever the
dude,
slopes are, bro.
snowboards. Yeah, that's my other side. I'm a little bit of a snowboard bum. I love
Hell
that
yeah.
shit. So, so yeah, I love growing up there. I was always out on the mountains in the winter, and that was probably my favorite part about it. Otherwise, there's not much going on in New Hampshire. I was about an hour from Boston and like 3 hours from New York City. So that part was pretty cool. I would go down to those places a lot, in my 20s once I, had a job and a car and money and stuff. But growing up, I didn't make it down there all that often. I did grow up like right outside of Boston in Malden until I was 8 and then moved to southern New Hampshire. So I got, a decent amount of Massachusetts in me too.
Nice.
But yeah, honestly, there was not a whole lot of influence in my current artistic life growing up in New Hampshire. Art was always a thing that was kind of like, I didn't think that I could draw very well, and so it wasn't something that I thought I could really get into.
Interesting.
I was like, if I can't draw, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I thought, because that's what I kind of thought art was. I didn't realize there was this whole like realm of digital art you can do without needing to know how to draw. So like, I can't draw a straight line. It doesn't matter. You know how to use a computer. Computers can draw straight lines. But it took me a while to figure that out, that I could be involved in this. I was actually much more of on the musical side growing up.
Oh, really?
I played guitar and drums and bass. Yeah, and piano.
Wow.
Like I played like the whole range of instruments. I had like a metal band at one point and played guitar in a metal band for a couple of years.
No way.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
And
Steven also was in a metal band for a while.
Oh yeah,
Steve
his metal
McQuarrie,
band was way more legit than my metal band.
Legit? Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were like signed to Rise Records and went on tour. I was like a true like garage band, like we never played shows. Like we had some tracks that we put on like whatever the music platform was at the time. I can't remember. It was before all this stuff now. But yeah, like we used to just like have fun and play metal, and write tunes, and it was kind of fun.
It's like your first foray into creative stuff was music then. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
cool.
I always kind of pictured myself ending up in that more than this, but it was so the way I kind of got into this was I was living in Manchester, New Hampshire, and which is where I was doing software engineering. I'd lived there for 3 to 4 years working in the software engineering world.
Before you get into kind of how you got into visuals, what got you into software engineering? Like what was the concept behind that, and kind of was there was it a direct kind of connection?
So I originally got into software engineering because I wanted to make video games. I was like, I thought so there was an artistic, creative kind of like push towards it. Like I wanted to make video games, but then I kind of, so when the program I actually did at Daniel Webster originally, the college I went to, was a game programming program. So all the classes were actually like geared towards learning how to make games.
Like Unity and Unreal?
It was kind of before was those? As much of a thing. Yeah. So it was more just like the core, like it was still like core, here's how to code, but they also had like 3D design classes and stuff that were kind of incorporated into the curriculum. So it was all taught kind of like, it was kind of like normal computer science, but just with a little bit more of a
flair,
game programming idea.
Right.
Yeah,
right. Like
but
logic
then I kind of like
that.
Yeah, exactly. But I ended up actually transferring to straight computer science in like my junior or senior year, because I just realized that if you want to make games, you got to work like 80-hour weeks. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I kind of like, knew some people who had done that and gone to the gaming industry. And I started to like realize what the life of like somebody making video games is. I was like, I'm good on that.
You ended up being a VJ where you have to work even more hours.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I'm kind of like in the same boat now. If you want to do anything cool, you got to work your ass off. That's just how it works. It took me a little longer to figure that out, but I kind of like doing this a little more because it's like I like the entrepreneurial aspect to it too. I kind of like running my own
working
small business
yourself.
type thing.
Yeah.
Like working for myself, being able to take time off when I want.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely want to get into the concept of freelancing and being your own boss. But yeah, I just want to harbor a little bit more on the kind of the coding aspect, because it's such an interesting trajectory. A lot of people I think it's like almost, I'm kind of realizing there's like two camps. I mean, inside of those two camps, there's lots of different, people. Everybody's very individual, but it's like the people that were kind of focused on some sort of creative thing and then found visuals, or people that had nothing to do with the creative industry and then were like, I'm actually more interested in this thing. It's kind of like, and like a lot of times, because it's so like a nerdy, this whole thing is like a very nerdy thing. Usually the not doing anything to do with visuals is coding, So it's interesting to see that's such a tipping point. Was there a catalyst? Was there like a moment of like, you kind of doing the grind of after school, you were kind of telling us that you were working in this in the industry, in the computer science industry. You were oh no, you were telling me this offline. Yeah, so please tell us a little bit about that.
So basically what happened is after I graduated from college with this computer science degree, I got a job in the industry that was like I was working in a company called Scribe that did database integration systems. And it was basically like moving data from this database to this database based on triggers, very dry stuff, like very dry, but like good money, good benefits. I like the work atmosphere was really nice. The people I worked with were really great, but the content of the coding and the software was like super boring, super dry. And I still enjoyed it to some degree, like solving problems and, like figuring out how to make things work. I like kind of like the little puzzles aspect of it, but
of course
it's just like you're working on these puzzles for so long and you're banging your head against the wall and then like,
and the puzzle at the end doesn't even look nice.
No, it's like the last software. This is the thing I always tell people. I was like, the last software job I worked at, I was like maintaining legacy software. This was after the first one. And and it took me like 2 or 3 months to update the password reset functionality. And I was like literally like all day, every day for 2 months, like pouring into code, like, why doesn't this like do this? Like, how does this all connect? Because it was like this old software. Nobody knew how it worked. And they're trying to like rewrite the platform and like plug everything in differently. And they're like, hey, go figure out how this works and then make it work. And I'm like, okay, and so you're just digging into all this old code. There's like no comments. It's just like you're decrypting ancient Egyptian, like it's insane. And it was not fun. And it was like, they really like, they pay you well to do those jobs though, because nobody wants to do it. And like they give you like free food at work like all the time. We'd have like ice cream trucks come through on Thursdays. You get like free ice cream.
Shit.
Like once a week you get like a catered lunch, like they give you like all this stuff. They make it hard to leave and you're like, man, this is pretty like kind of like my cushy, like they give you whatever you want in your office. You get like a standing desk, like sweet ass monitor, like, you can like pretty much build it out however you want. But at the end of the day, the work is just so brutal. And so I basically was like, I was living in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I started doing visuals on the side. Just for fun while I was still programming because
how did you get into it? What did you see? Like, what was the...
So there was basically just like this local promoter in Manchester. There was like nothing happening in Manchester, New Hampshire related to the EDM scene at all. And then this guy started like throwing shows and I started going to them really early and got to like meet all the people. And I was like, man, I wish I could like be involved or contribute some way to this. And just looking at all the things that were going on, I was like, I could do the visuals. I was like, I always loved visuals, like I went to a lot of shows when I was working in computer science, basically all the money I would make, I would just plug right into festivals and go to like festivals like 5 times, like 6 times a summer, like back to back, like festival touring, like that's kind of how I would get my release from like the shoveling the shit of the software industry, like I'd go and just let loose. And so and I always loved the visuals. That was always a part of it that I was like, wow, this is like super cool. And so when they started doing these shows, I was like, you know what, I can probably figure this out. If I can dig into this ancient software, and like I was like, I could figure out how they're doing that. You
Yeah.
know, like that was kind of how my coding background helped me out. It just gave me a lot of
Interesting.
confidence with computers.
Right.
You know,
right,
just
right,
to be
right,
able to figure out how anything works and, you know, make it do what I want.
Right.
You know, like, so with that confidence, I was just like, oh, that's a job that can happen here, a way I can contribute and go to these shows for
Interesting.
free and make a little extra money, you know?
Yeah, and you want to be part of it,
and-
right? It's like that's like also I think something very common. Like you love the scene, a small scene, you know, family vibes, and you're like, well, how can I contribute? How can I be part of it?
Yes.
Well, I'm really happy that you found that that visuals was the part that you contributed to. Super
Yeah.
cool. So and that
Thanks.
so you were
Yeah,
doing
that
that
was
while
really
you were
cool.
still working as a software engineer. You were like moonlighting, like kind of like in the you know
Yeah.
off hours, kind of doing it.
Yeah, I would basically run all the shows that this promoter would throw in Manchester for like a year. And then other promoters throughout Massachusetts and other places started kind of hear about it. And so I started doing more shows. And then at some point before I moved to Denver, I was kind of running all the shows that I wanted
Nice.
to or could run.
What
you
year is
know,
this?
like in the Boston area. That was like 2018, 2019. I mean, it was
Okay.
around the time when we met. So that festival
okay.
that I booked you for was thrown by that promoter. He
Oh.
had just started throwing shows like a year and a half earlier and decided to throw
Oh.
a festival.
Wow.
And I was
That
with
makes a
him
lot of
early
sense.
on in the very beginning. And so I was like, hey, let me like be in charge of all the VJ and art stuff. And he was like, okay, sure. And so
Nice.
I got to like, you know,
Dude, that
run this whole
festival-
department. And
That festival, I met so many cool people there. Like, I like people that I'm still friends, like close friends with today. You know, like Matt, we're
Hell
still
yeah.
really close. Like,
yeah.
Dan Schaub, like I'm not close, but
Oh,
he was
yeah.
like such a
He's
huge
so good.
influence. The
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
not the Liquid Light guy, but there was another guy that did it. So good.
Oh yeah, TJ Spurge.
TJ Splurge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was
no,
a few
he
other
was-
VJs that I met out there. I think I met Harrison out there. I think was there too.
Yep. And I think
Droid.
the Void was there.
The Void, yes,
Andrew.
yes. Andrew, yeah.
And Daydreamer, I think
yes,
too was there.
Yes. It was so cool to, you know, I had no idea about the American scene at all. Like, I knew like basically that Delta Pro, like that. Oh, not even. I knew that basically Datagramma played for Tipper, but like, and I knew of Keith, like, because Keith was like kind of pretty well known internationally.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was kind of my only understanding of like the VJ scene in America, and yeah, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm like in the East Coast. I saw that there was like this festival going on. I think maybe I had seen, I don't even remember like how I even saw it, but it must have just
You,
been
like,
like
hit
on
me
my
up.
radar. I hit you up.
Yeah,
I was hitting up. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
you know, I'm here. Like, you know, give me a ticket. I'm coming. You know, like that's it.
Yeah, and I looked at your page and I was like, hell yeah. And you were like, I'll bring like the mocap suit and do all this shit. And I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? Of course you can come.
Yeah, that was so fun.
That was stoked.
Such a
Yeah, that
one of
was
my
cool.
funnest shows. That show that I did with Matt with Zip Visuals and Yael, my wife, was like still one of my top shows. Like, you know, even all these years later. Super
Yeah.
cool. Okay,
No,
so
that
that
was
was like
such a
really
good
at the
time.
beginning of your career. That's so interesting. I
That was
never
really
made
only
that
like
connection.
2 or 3 years in for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So-
was early.
And that was kind of like, was that the kind of around the time that you were thinking of leaving software engineering?
Yeah, I was thinking about leaving software at that point, but it was like I never thought I could make enough money doing that, you know? So I was always afraid to leave my cushy software job where I was like getting paid like, you know, good money and all like free snacks and, you know, like all that stuff. Like ice cream
The
at
ice
work.
cream
they're
truck
like,
sounds amazing.
Dude, they make it so good. Like they make it so good. Like they give
so
you
what,
all the
what
stuff.
gave you the confidence to leave? Like what was like was it just like starting
well, I
getting
got
more
laid
gigs? That makes it easy. That makes it easy.
Yeah, it was like the universe decided for me.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like during COVID, basically COVID hit and the company was like, okay, we're downsizing now.
Yeah.
And they were like, all you people, you're fired. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was like literally upset about it for maybe like 30 minutes. And then I was like,
Oh
wait,
shit.
this is sick.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I wanted. And like now they're going to pay me like my full salary for like 2 months so I don't have to work at all. And then
Yeah.
unemployment, like with the
Kicks
COVID
in.
benefits for like a year. Like it
Amazing.
was the perfect time to get laid off. It was
Yeah.
literally perfect timing.
Also, there's no like
And,
FOMO. Like you're just at home, like getting better at your
Yeah.
craft, like streaming. Like it really is a
Yeah,
good time.
still
for that
getting
to happen.
paid. you
Yeah,
know,
still getting
like,
paid. Yeah,
like
That's
it was
awesome.
like too good to be true. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And that's when
That's
I
awesome.
started. I had just bought this like 7,000 lumen laser projector too, right before COVID, because I was making good money and I was like, I want this. You know,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I can do cool stuff with this. You know, I can rent it to festivals. I was like, eventually I'll make the money back on it, which took a long time because of COVID. But I basically started busting it out like every weekend, and I would projection map somebody's house.
I saw. I
And
remember
then
that.
I
I
would
remember when
like,
you were doing the houses.
yeah,
That
I
was
would
so
like
fun.
put it on stream and like,
we can find it.
yeah, it was so cool. I would have the Rust like dump all their people into my stream after the
Hell yeah.
the sleepless sessions or whatever it was.
The
And,
featherbed.
Oh, featherbed sessions.
Featherbed.
Yeah.
those were great.
Yeah. Oh, it was so
Interesting.
good.
So
That was a
okay,
good
cool. So
time in
so
history.
you were really getting into it like right at the kind of like you were almost getting to like a peak, and then COVID happened, and then was it like a plateau, or was that kind of your, because I like, how did you break into the scene? From going from like a very localized kind of East Coast vibe to like kind of being pretty synonymous now with visuals. You're very big, in a very short amount of time. And also considering COVID was kind of like smack in the middle, what was kind of some of the hardships breaking into the scene, and kind of, give us a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, when COVID hit, it did kind of rock my career a little bit because it was like kind of going in a good direction. There was about to be one of those like Jade Cicada shows. It was right as Jade Cicada was blowing up and he was doing that tour with all the VJs and on the show. And there was going to be a big one of those because I was working with Resonate,
Nice.
who's like, they're like the big bass promoters in Boston, and they started like putting me on a lot of their shows. They actually, those guys who run Resonate manage Truth now, so I've gotten some work through them for that too.
Nice.
But basically, I mean, when I moved out here, Gabrielle 100 Drums is a huge part of like how I was able to get into all this. She helped me a lot with like meeting a lot of the right people and helping to like put me on the map in a way that, people kind of was aware who I was. She would let me like put my logo up during her sets, like a nice intro and outro. So my logo's like been up at Red Rocks, and like some of these big venues where there's a lot of people.
Wow, that makes a big difference.
And yeah, so like we even like whenever I do a show with her still, we promote it as like the 100 Drums experience. And we have like a whole logo opening sequence, with like 100 Drums experience, visuals by Actualize,
Nice.
and then like custom artwork by Infinite Concepts, who's like the artist for her brand who makes all our artwork and stuff. And so I basically animate a lot of the artwork from this artist, and then we call it the 100 Drums experience. And that was like with her, that was my first time playing at Red Rocks. It was like the first set for some show, and we got like a tiny little portion of the wall. They like do that sometimes at Red Rocks. Like if you're the earliest guy, or you're going to scale you down to like 50% of this huge wall.
Oh, really? Why?
So we're like a tiny square out on the wall. I don't know. It's like the production ramping thing.
Oh, they want to make it like
like
levels of the night, like going up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Stupid.
it's stupid.
Yeah,
I
it's
totally
stupid.
disagree with it, especially
So
when
silly.
it's like a daytime set at
Yeah,
Red
who
Rocks.
cares? Yeah, it's
They've
daytime.
gotten a lot better now. Yeah, exactly. Like the sun's on the wall. You're set with lasers and pyro and fireworks is definitely going to beat this one, dude. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know what
it's
you're
also
worried
like-
about.
The idea that people like actually like are so dumb that they're gonna be like, oh, I get it now, the headliner because the screen's bigger, is just like,
Yeah.
that's not how that works. People are excited no matter what. They don't need to make the screen
Right.
smaller and then bigger. It's a silly
Yeah.
way of thinking. I think it's a
I
very
mean-
old style way of thinking about things, I think.
Yeah, I do believe in like some level of production ramping, honestly. Like maybe
Yeah.
like save lasers for the headliner.
Totally,
Like
totally,
certain
totally.
things.
Totally.
Just because like, if you're like have dank production all night, you're going to get like fatigued and it's not going to be
That's
as
true.
exciting
That's
by the
true.
time
That's
the
true.
headliner
That's
comes
true.
on.
That's
So
true.
like
That's
I
true.
believe in some level of production ramping, but I don't believe on small squares on
No,
big
that's,
squares. I'm
yeah.
like, just let us use the whole like panel. If you have like a bunch of different panels and we can only use this panel and these panels,
Fair enough.
that's fine. But like
Fair
if there's
enough,
a big
right.
panel, don't make me do a small square in the middle of the panel. That shit just looks so stupid. I feel like it's just the dumbest thing, and I feel like people are moving away from it now. But at least small squares. They still, like, you'll get like 70% of the big wall at Red Rocks, you know, for like every support act except for direct support. So, anyways, I digress. So like working with 100 Drums, we had like done this stream Couch Fest together, and she lived in Denver, and I was moving to Denver, and she really loved what I did for her on the stream, and was like, we gotta like work together all the time.
That's
and
awesome.
So I moved out here and we started hanging out, and then like I played like all her shows out here, and she started blowing up really fast. Like from the time that I knew her, she like headlined the Black Box and then went to headlining Cervantes like a year later.
Wow.
And then last year headlined the Ogden. We're doing I actually can't talk about that. But so
okay.
but yeah, we did Ogden with her last year. And I've done multiple sets with her at Red Rocks. I even did one direct support set for Zed's Dead with her back-to-back Koki.
That's awesome.
So that one, they gave us most of the wall. That was cool. I think they gave us the whole big main wall, and then the little ones.
Is
little ones they
Cervantes
keep.
the one in the cave?
No, that's the Caverns.
The Cavern.
But
the
I
cavern.
have
What's
played with her there
Cervantes?
too. Cervantes is
like
a venue in Denver.
It's a venue?
Yeah,
okay.
it's like a venue in Denver. It's like a 1,200 cap. Cervantes
Big one.
Masterpiece Ballroom.
Got you. Oh,
yeah,
ballroom.
it's
Okay,
kind of
cool,
like
cool.
in between Black Box and like, and Cervantes has two sides. So there's like the other side, which is like a 600, 800 cap, something like that. And then the main room is like 1,200. And sometimes they do shows that are both rooms. It's a really cool spot. They have like a cool patio. Sometimes they have like
nice.
silent disco out there.
Oh, cool.
It's a very cool spot, and basically it's like that stepping stone that I was talking about. It's like you go from like Black Box, Cervantes other side, Cervantes Masterpiece Ballroom, Ogden, which is like a 15 cap, then Mission Ballroom, which is like a 3,000 to 4,000 cap. Yeah, that's a big one. They can kind of change the size of it. They can like move the stage out and like so they can make it like a 3,000 cap if they have an artist who they don't think is going to sell quite that many tickets. So, and then after that is Red Rocks. So, and then there's all the, you know, like the Mishawaka, all the ones like kind of surrounding Denver. But all those ones that I just said are like in Denver. So, so you can really see people grow and rise through the ranks depending on like where they're headlining this year. Right. Yeah, you can be like, oh, he headlined Black Box last year and now he's headlining Cervantes. He's like moving
It's
quick.
like you can see the stepping stone. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, like Zingara, for example. Usually you have to go Cervantes, Ogden, Mission Ballroom. She had a show at Cervantes' other side that was supposed to be like a 600 cap. They sold it out so fast, they moved it to the main room, the ballroom, sold that out, 1,200 caps. So she moved right up to 1,200. And then she straight up skipped the Ogden and went right to Mission Ballroom and sold that out. Like a 5,000 cap. And that was like a year later.
Amazing.
So she went from being like nobody to being like the hottest shit around so fast. And honestly, I saw her show at the Mission Ballroom. I did visuals there for Vector, I think. And, or wait, no. It was like Black Carl and Lumasi, I think. And it was so sick. Zingara is so sick. I'll die on that hill now. For a little while, I was like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, is she really like that good to be blowing up so fast? I'm like, maybe she's just a cute girl, but no, she's actually sick.
That's awesome.
Like she's fire.
That's awesome.
So yeah, she really blew my mind, and yeah, she deserves it all for sure.
Hell yeah.
But also super impressive to be able to do that, to like skip the menu and be like.
But it sounds like Denver is really built for that, huh? Like it's really like got that kind of trajectory of like entry level artists to blowing up artists to, you know, national touring artists. Like I like that. I love that kind of that vibe, you know, of like that very clear trajectory, you know. And it's like, I guess a lot of cities have that, but it's like this is very specific for like the electronic music industry, you know. And it's kind of like because I feel like maybe because of the hub of all like the, you know, you could obviously speak better than this on me, but like maybe the hub of like all the art involved, like all the psychedelic art, all the heady kind of like people that are like quote unquote, you know, the trendsetters or whatever, that kind of creates like this smelting pot of like, of like this kind of start, at the entry, but then work your way up very fast. Kind of like almost like a comedy scene, like start at this club, an open mic, and then you kind of get as further. It's cool. I like that. I think that's really...
And it's really cool, too, because they all, like, bring each other up, too.
Right.
So, like, once you're headlining this show at this venue, you get to pick your support and be like, my homie's coming to play, and he's going to blow up after me. And then, like... And then also, like, most of the venues are run by AEG. So there's people behind the scenes at AEG who, like, decide who gets big, basically, too.
Interesting.
They're kind of like... They, like, put fuel to the horse. They basically decide who they believe in. The people get big on their own. But AEG decides who to give a shot.
They own all the venues?
Most of them, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they may not own the black box, but yeah, they kind of run the scene out here.
Interesting.
Mission Ballroom and Red Rocks and like Ogden, I know all for sure. Yeah. No, they're great. I mean, like, I don't have anything against AEG, but they do kind of like run shit. For sure.
Yeah, for better or worse, right? I mean, it depends.
For better or worse. I think it's all a very healthy system. I really don't think anybody's getting put on a pedestal who doesn't like deserve to be there.
That's good.
Like I think that the people at AEG are actually really tapped into like the teams that are like working really hard. Like the artist teams that are like really doing everything they should be doing in terms of like marketing and promotion and releasing new music and getting good visuals built. The ones who are like scaling their brands fast enough to be able to actually play shows of that scale. Like they're in tune with like what teams are crushing it basically. And they kind of decide, they too also decide, like here's how we're going to bring you up. So like, here's your plan. Like we're going to put you at this venue this year.
Right. If you sell it out, you'll go to this one.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. If you sell it out, then you go to this one. And then they do.
And I guess because they own all of them, then they have that ability to kind of like put you on a pedestal, market you, push you up.
Right.
Bring you good supporting acts. So it can be, I guess it can be very conducive for a good environment, but it's just like, very easily could be very toxic, right? If just one, it's monopoly kind of vibes, but it's good to hear that it's not like that.
But it's also necessary too, I feel like,
You think so?
I mean, I can't see it working any differently. It would be like, I think it helps things to move faster. For sure, having it all be under the same umbrella, if like all these venues were owned by different promoters and they all had like different ideas about who they wanted to grow, and they're all trying to grow different people wouldn't grow the right way and they wouldn't, have enough acts to play Red Rocks, like every night, like they're like scaling it to that. I mean, I don't know if that's ever really an issue because every genre can play Red Rocks.
There's shows in Red Rocks every night?
Every night, yeah.
That's crazy. And it's like, probably not sold out every night though.
No, but it's sold out a lot.
It's sold out a lot.
And I mean, they have everything across every genre there. Like it's not just EDM. Like they have rock shows. And
they even
whatever,
have. I saw South Park did like a live music thing there. Matt and Trey from South Park. They brought the band and they like played all the popular songs from South Park. I downloaded it. I watched that. It was so fun.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome.
They had projection mapping on the fucking rocks of like South Park characters. And I'm like, that's like, I wish that would be like my ultimate goal gig would be like doing something for South Park. That would be so crazy.
I want a projection map at Red Rocks too. Like just in general. With South Park would be really cool. If we could get in with Matt and Trey, that would be so tight. We could get reservations at Casa Bonita without having to wait, dude. That'd be so sick. Casa Bonita, you gotta like get on the guest list and wait like a year to get into Casa Bonita out here. It's so crazy. Funny. The hype is insane.
Have you been there?
And
have you been there?
No, I haven't. No? I want to go. I got to get on the list and wait a year.
They totally rejuvenated that place. That place was like a shithole, I think, and then they totally rejuvenated it. Yeah.
Yeah, they bought it and they just turned it around.
That's amazing. Those guys, man, they
really
do everything so good. Like, everything they touch and do is just like gold. It's just like
for real.
Just the top of like cool, innovative, creative, ideas being realized, actualized into like an actual thing. I really love them so much.
No, I love those guys.
Sorry, I mean this is awesome. I'm loving kind of like the way places is going, but I really want to like, can you put your finger on what it was to break into the VJ scene? Because it's like a very specific thing of like, you know, you kind of mentioned the 100 drums was like helping you kind of get into it and being like, but maybe like from your perspective, like what was the kind of like the change that in your eyes, you know, how you looked at yourself as a VJ, as an artist? Like, was there something that like changed in you that was like was there a moment, or was it a, you know, a long period of time? Because I think it's important, you know, it's like, it's one thing to like be like, okay, I'm a VJ and consider yourself an artist, but it's another thing to like be like, oh, I'm actually going on tour. I'm actually playing across the country. I'm actually playing at the biggest venues in Denver. You know, and I just want to I want to know if there's anything else there besides just being you know, elevated by 100 drums by Gabrielle was her name.
Yeah.
You know, what else was there that you can kind of pinpoint, if anything?
I mean, it definitely wasn't just that, but that helped me to meet a lot of people. And really, it's just about meeting a lot of people. And, you know, for me, like, and being out here in Denver just made that so easy. Because, like, one, so many of the artists live here in Denver. You know, Gabrielle's just one example of that, but there's so many more, too, that I work with who live out here. You know, Killsmith, Duffery, you know, Chimera, like, Closey lives out here. Like, even Grizz lives out here. I haven't worked with him yet, but everybody is kind of like part of this community. And once you start meeting people, you know, you kind of like naturally meet other people.
You become friends.
And, you know, if you do a good job, you know, and I kind of like, I was able to like come out here with a good level of confidence in my VJing ability, just because like I had done it a lot for that promoter that I was talking about. Like I was doing it almost every weekend for like 5-6 hours, like the whole show.
Nice.
And I would like build custom sets for like each different artist. I would listen to their music and like pick out content for each of them. And so, yeah, and I would sometimes do that 2 or 3 nights a week if there were like other promoters also throwing shows. So I was like playing a lot of shows in New England before I even came out here. And that's like, that just on the job experience, you know, like I had enough confidence to approach any of these artists and venues. And like I would go to shows out here and I would see the headlining VJ and I'd be like, oh, I can do that. You know, like I'm not good. Like, you know, like I could be like running the headlining show. So that kind of like gave me the confidence to approach these artists on the come and be like, hey, you want your show to like look as good as that show? Like I can make it look like that, you know, like, or I can make it look as good, if not better, you know, than the headlining artist. I can make you look very professional and make it just like, make your set pop and be more engaging. Would you reach out to people, or was it more organic, like just hanging out and just kind of like, you know, being at the same social events and kind of just like, you know, or would you actually like DM people and be like, hey, I can do better for you? There's definitely a little bit of both. You know, like I would, a lot of time I would try to meet people in person first. You know, whether it's at an event, like a festival too. Like I also did like, you know, those 2 years with Equinox, and then the last 3 years I worked Soundhaven as a visual director. So I was like in direct communication with all the artist teams and like, you know, worked with a couple different artists there. So that was a good place to meet people too. Basically every time I go out and I'm doing VJ stuff, I'm like, who's playing here that I
network,
like who can talk to and like work with in the future. And, you know, and then if I get that chance to talk to him and be like, hey, I just worked with this artist, you know, I really liked your set and like I thought your stuff was cool and I would love to work with you sometime, you know, and I'm down to help you like kind of build out what you want to do and, you know, like just figure out how to make your set what you want it to be. I think that's part of it too, is like I'm very flexible with the artists, like building like custom sets for them specifically. You know, like I'm much more of a VJ than anything else. You know, I don't really care about playing my own content all the time.
Like you're really good at curating and kind of visioning like a bigger picture of things, and like the tools that you use, like you like loops and like this kind of huge content library allows you to do that very flexibly, which is like you know, compared to like, I mean, I consider, I guess myself, well, I guess I'm a little bit more, but like, let's say somebody like, you know, Droid or Glass Crane, people that are like really like artists, like, you know, their art is what they are. I'm sure they're flexible and they could do all types of styles. It's not like they can't, but
Yeah.
it's like,
But they like to play their own stuff.
yeah, but you're also going to approach them because you like what they're doing, right? Whereas like maybe I would approach you because you're just really good at wrangling everything together. And like you said, making a custom set. It's a really important skill set to have, I think, and very valuable, and clearly a really good way to break into like a bigger aspect. Whereas now you can, if you wanted to, do your own stuff because people want you as an artist, not necessarily you as like your curation skills per se. You know what I mean?
Well, and it depends. It's client to client too. You know, like I definitely work with some clients who are like, play nothing but our pack, or this vibe. Like, we don't want any of your other stuff. Right. And I'm like, cool.
Sure.
Like, you're going to pay me? I don't care. Like, I'm just trying to like pay my bills, dude. Like I can do what you want and I'm still going to have fun. Like I kind of like working with content packs with artists too, sometimes, to be completely honest, and trying to build these custom sets because it's like an interesting creative challenge. To try to like figure out how to make this shitty content pack look good. Sometimes most people's content packs are pretty cool, but every now and then I'll get a content pack and I'm like, all right, this one's gonna be like, how are you gonna make this look cool? Because this doesn't look very good. But like, if I can just figure out, like a couple effects to apply or ways to blend it with other content that I either have or they've provided, and I can get a really cool look out of the content that they gave me, then they're like, oh shit, like this guy can like make our dreams come true visually, you know? Like, they're like,
or just like,
he's
this
got
guy's
the vision
taking
of
our...
what we're trying to do,
And if they have shitty content, then it's most likely they don't even have the capacity to see things in a big picture, and you're all of a sudden being like, hey, this is what it should look like, you know what I mean? Which is like so fun. It's so fun for you to enable that for people, but it's like also for the client, like for them to see that is like, mind-blowing. Like they don't have to like spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a custom content. They could just have their kind of mid-level stuff and then just hire a really good VJ that knows how to like, and I'm not saying like one is better than the other. I think that there's like totally valid things for both places, and like you said, it's client to client. But it's like, I mean, even just for you, just to get that validation of like, somebody hiring you and like, here's our content. It's and they're like, oh, this is the best content ever. And then you like make it infinitely better. It's like, it must be very validating and feel
like,
good.
Wow, that's exactly what we wanted. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, I see what you're putting down. Like a lot of people are onto this like glitchy, like VHS kind of analog look lately. And I'm getting really into it. Like Easy Baked and Daily Bread, they're like all about it. And I'm like starting to be like, okay, I can actually make this look pretty cool, At first, I was like, how do I make this just like clip-o-static and like, like VHS analog glitching, like look cool? And now I'm kind of like, oh, I see, like I'm learning. And I've done that also like with Manic Focus, he wanted like cartoons. And I actually work with Jonna P, if you know him, and he's another VJ. You should totally interview him. He's done some really cool, Jonna P. He's done a lot of really cool, like Apex Collective animations and stuff. Oh, cool. And he went to school for like cartoon animation, which I didn't know. I just kind of made a Facebook post. I was like, who's a cartoon animator? Manic Focus needs stuff. And he had these like sketches of himself that he wanted to have like animated. And I was like, I can find a guy. And so I found Jonna and we all kind of worked together to make these cool like cartoon like walking animations, and we put them on Alpha. And then I got to mix him at Red Rocks for his set there last year.
Hell yeah.
And it was really cool. We got to kind of like build out what he wanted,
Do you know Mika Buzen?
Yeah.
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 I love that guy.
His stuff is very cool.
I've been trying to get him on the podcast. I've been following him before he was like selling loops. I don't know how I found him. I randomly on Facebook, and like I reached out to him, and I bought he gave me a pack of his before he started selling them. Before he started selling them, and I was like, I'm a VJ, I love your thing, please let me use it. And he's like, sure. And then I'm like, you should sell this, like this is good shit. And then like a few months later, he started selling his stuff.
Amazing. I see it all the time. I see it literally all the time.
His stuff is so, because it's so it's so stylistic. You know, it's not even like animation. It's like stop motion. You know, it's like very
It's like frame by frame animation.
frame by frame
It's like
animation.
the
Yeah,
best,
it's very
best kind.
yeah, for sure,
Like
for sure.
hand drawn. That's why I learned a
Hand-drawn.
lot about that on this Manic Focus project, because we didn't do that, because it's like way more expensive.
It's so
You gotta
well,
draw
it's
every
crazy
single
amount
frame.
of work. Yeah.
Tons of work.
Tons of work.
So we were just like, but you can also do like cartoon rigging too. You can do like 2D rigging
in After
animations.
Effects or in
So-
Houdini for sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
'cause,
what we
once
ended
you
up
have
doing.
that's what you guys ended up doing. Like you had
Yeah.
like a rig of a character. It's smart.
Mhm.
It's smart, like a
Yeah.
puppet tool.
Yeah, we were
I think
able
it's
to make
cool.
it way more affordable that way.
For
you know,
sure.
it was like probably like 5 times the price if you wanted to do it hand drawn frame by
Oh,
frame.
dude,
And
it's
also like, yeah, it's so much work and it takes so much more time.
Takes
Like
more
we didn't really
time.
have like the time.
and you can't really go back. It's not digital, you know. You can't really like if it's not what you wanted or if it's
Right.
not like, you know, revisions are super expensive for sure.
Yeah, and you can never build off it. You know, like now we have a rigged cartoon. We can make a million
Right.
clips out of it.
Right.
You know, like
for sure.
whereas with that, it's like, it's
You're
this
done.
Is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Okay, super interesting, and I appreciate you like kind of harboring on that a little bit because I think it's really important for people that are kind of up and coming. Like, what do I do? How do I do it? You know?
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to another really big part of the Actualize visual manifesto. I don't know if you want me to use that word, but you know,
Manifesto, I
the
like it.
manifesto of Actualize. You're a really big educator. You know, you really you know, you do workshops. You, if I'm not mistaken, you started doing like personal teaching, like classes for people, like one-on-ones. You do like workshops at festivals.
Yep.
You know, and I think it's super important, you know, besides for obviously, you know, the karmatic aspect of it, of just like, you know, giving and receiving, you know, the next generation of VJs, I'm sure you've experienced this too, but like the fucking people that come out of the scene now are just like insanely talented. And it's like, it took me 10 years to get to this level and they're like doing it within a year. And it's like, Jesus.
I know. I'm
And
like, dude, I had to spend years figuring out these secrets. And then I just gave them to you, and now you're better than I am. I'm like, you gotta chill out right now, you know?
Which, you know, I see I'm sure you do too, but I see the benefit of that because it makes the scene move forward and it makes me move forward in a way that's like really powerful. You know, but it's like that could easily have been done by somebody else or maybe somebody that doesn't understand the concept of this kind of importance. So, you know, I'm happy that you're kind of bringing in the next generation in that aspect. And, excuse me, like, you know, just tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was your thought process, obviously, besides for, you know, money.
Extra money.
You know, we love money. I know we love money. But
it's hard
you're
to
Jewish,
make
right?
as a VJ. No, I'm actually not.
But you are, like, when it comes to money. But,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to make money doing this stuff. Even living in Denver, you know, there's gigs here every weekend. It's like, it took me a while to really get to the point where it's like, okay, now I have enough work. Yeah, it's, wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry. I just spaced out.
Educating. No, it's okay. Educating
right,
and kind of, you know, wanting to bring in the next generation in like a good way, you know, kind of like the ethos of VJing and sharing and, you know, maintaining some sort of balance of money and, you know, kind of this whole conceptualization of the VJ as a career.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, definitely part of the inspiration was, you know, some extra cash because, you know, there's only so many VJ sets, even out here. But also, it feels really good to teach. And it has taught me a lot, too. You know, like in the process of teaching, I find that I'm learning as I'm teaching. Because, like, a lot of the students that come to me are not like, I mean, I get some people who are like first time ever touched Resolume, you know, and I love that, guiding people from the very beginning. You know, I love doing that, too. But every now and then I'll get somebody who's been in Resolume for a couple of years. And I just like blow their mind, and it's super fun to do. And I'll see their setup and I'm like, oh, like if you just kind of like do this here and like change this thing over and maybe like do this way instead of this way, like it's going to be easier for you to like transition on the fly, or like follow the colors of the LD, or like
Right.
create a more dynamic visual moment with this energetic effect type thing. I'm able to like really help people. But in the process too, sometimes I'm like, oh, what are you doing there? That's kind of
Right.
cool,
Right.
like,
How'd you do that?
I'm like, that's sweet. Like, all right, I kind of see what you're doing there. And, so sometimes I get ideas from doing it too. Or sometimes just through teaching even a beginner student, I'm digging through menus and I'm like, oh, what is this setting? I've never seen this before. And then I'm like, oh, what? Like this must be some new thing. And I like start using some new feature that I didn't really know was there just because I'm spending time digging into Resolume teaching. So those are the benefits, like for me personally. But I do think for the greater VJ scene, I just like to see better visuals out there too. Like I like to see the shows like, like looking good. I like to see the artists looking good. I like to see my friends who are VJs and who want to do this stuff, like able to succeed and, accomplish what they want to do. And, so like, it's all good. It's everything about it is good. And I do feel like it has been like a little bit of a shift in the way that people think about this stuff. Because when I first got into VJing, it felt kind of gate-kept. There was definitely...
You'd felt that?
Because it was... Oh, yeah. When I first got into it, there was like in, 2017, 2018 out here, it was tough. Because, there was only so many shows. There was even less then than there is now. And even now, there's only so many. So, like, it was, like, very competitive. And people didn't want other people to know how to use these tools.
Interesting. I never had that. Is that you think that was specific to like Denver, or because I never had an experience. I wasn't in
Denver. I was in New England at that time.
Was it, you think it was specific to that region?
Maybe. And honestly, there was still a pretty collaborative environment there too. But there was definitely a little bit more
people on the higher end,
than
maybe,
there is
maybe
now.
More protective.
Yeah. Well, and also just like more scarcity. Really, like I said, which I think was driving it, like not having a lot of shows. People are like, oh, this guy's going to come and take my work.
Take my job, yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. This guy's going to take my job. But now that we're all like 6-7 years deep, we're like, oh, we can teach the kids the secrets now. They're never going to be able to catch up anyways.
Well,
like, we've got some years. And like, I think it's like everybody feels a little more comfortable sharing these secrets now.
Totally, but I also think it's like, this is like kind of akin to. It's so interesting that you've had that gatekeeper experience with VJs. Like I've never heard that. Like it's very fascinating because I feel like, especially, I've been doing it a little bit longer than you, but like my mentor generation was so like open and like free with the information, and kind of all the teachers that I had in the past were so open and free with all the information. All the conferences that I went to in Europe, and kind of like the Facebook groups or whatever, the groups online that were sharing information were always very open. It was way more scarce, like you're saying, like there was way less places to get information, less people to get information than there is now. But I feel like my generation of VJs, like, we're kind of in the same, like because we had so much open information, then it was very natural for us to do the same as well. And I feel like that's the same kind of with the generation now, where they're like, every single, up and coming VJ has a Patreon because they want to share and they want to like, show what they're doing in a way that's like collaborative, you know what I mean? And I think it's a great thing, and I think it speaks volumes to like what is the secret really, like, and also like keeping a secret, like it's not going to help you, it's not going to make you better to hold on to the secret, because first of all, somebody's going to, it's not like, none of us are really figuring things out, like we're not like inventing a new wheel, we're just using a software. So it's like the technique, like, and also when you share a technique, you're naturally inclined to come up with a new one, because now it's like okay, you know what I mean? And it's like,
well, I think that's part of why a lot of people are doing it now.
yeah,
You know, but I feel like, back in like 2018, it was like people weren't like really sharing clips very much.
interesting.
Like they weren't really sharing like VJ tricks very much. I feel like everybody was kind of trying to figure out that cool trick or have that cool edge that was going to get them the gig.
To get them the gig, yeah.
At least in the environment that I was at, because in New England, it was like not even just scarcity of information, like scarcity of gigs. There's like barely any cool gigs happening, and there's like 15 different VJs who all want to play this cool gig.
Right.
Like there's actually a decent amount of VJs in the scene after a little while.
Interesting.
At first, it was very small. Like when I started, I wasn't aware of anybody actually. For the first like year that I VJ'd, I didn't know any other VJs. But then after that first year, I started meeting like more and more VJs, and some of them were more willing to share, than others. But there was definitely some like, oh no, I'm not going to give you my sauce. And I mean, I kind of understand it too. Like from an entrepreneurial sense. Like if you're trying to run a business, it's kind of like your intellectual property, it's kind of like your edge,
It is,
so
but
like
at the same
to some
time,
degree
like,
it makes sense.
To me, it doesn't seem like it's the ethos of visual arts in general, because it's like the whole, think about any, any After Effects tutorial, or like, Andrew Kramer, or like, or motion graphics, like it's so freely available, and like the whole idea behind it is, let me show you. Oh, you like what I did?
Right.
I'm going to show you. Maybe, and this is like, I don't, this is like a totally just throwing an idea out there, but maybe the people that were kind of in that vibe of like gatekeepery, maybe they were coming from a different type of ethos of like a more kind of like akin to like a DJ or akin to like a music industry kind of idea, where it is more, this is my edge, this is my thing. Whereas like by us, I feel like because of the nerdum and like the open source that's kind of behind the whole thing, people are like, this is not my edge. Like this is my edge, but I want to share it with you so that, that it's my edge. Or I don't know, kind of like what we were saying before, of like, if I share it with you, then I'm going to incline to make it better. Or like, now that you're doing it, it's going to make me, more powerful because you're doing the thing that I did or came up with. You know what I mean?
And that's the mindset now. It really has shifted more, into that. But I really do feel like for a couple of years there, everybody was like, this is my cool stuff. Make your own, like, and it was like, I don't know. It's definitely like, I think that COVID helped with that a lot, and I think the differences too, sometimes with the content creation versus the VJ stuff is like, for the VJ stuff specifically, there's really only so many things you can do with it. When it comes to like After Effects classes or Blender classes, I feel like people are more willing to like teach those skills because like there's so many applications.
Like
when there's no way that they're going to be competing with you directly.
Right.
Like you're mixing, and it's like there's literally only like, in New England, it'd be like, okay, there's like 3 shows a month, 3 cool shows. And these are the ones that everybody wants to play. And it's like, how are you going to get this show over the other guy? It's like, well, you're going to make the coolest content, or you're going to have the coolest things. And like, hopefully they're going to pick you because they think your stuff is the coolest. I don't know. It was like, it was a different vibe. And out here, it's different. Denver's different. Like the scene now is different. I think COVID changed it a lot with all the streams. Everybody got to see a lot more of what other people were doing. Yeah, like so many different styles out there, so many different ways of doing it, right? Like, and I think people came to realize the value of sharing, and growing a little more, than, and I even honestly, I would approach, like, there was a time when I would like approach painters, who wouldn't want me to use their stuff in visual sets either. And it's like I think that there's just this thing where people don't like the idea of you building a brand off of their art. Their art, yeah. So like if what they're doing, they consider their art, like this is their specific thing that makes it their art. That's like a thing that they want to keep, to themselves in some sense, like some of these artists. I've experienced it with artists all across the board.
Interesting.
But like, but really, it's so much different here in Denver. Everyone is so collaborative and teaching each other all the time.
Yeah.
So being immersed in this environment has really changed the way I think about that. But
Nice.
New England is like, I don't know. It's just a more competitive place, New York City and Boston and like the whole vibe of like New England is like, it's cold and we got to survive, like it's like everybody's like, everybody's like, like it's like, I don't know, not completely, but to some degree I feel like there's a little more competition. Also, sports are huge there. It's like the sports capital of the country, so everybody's like, I feel like competitive. Yeah. There's like the competitive thing is a whole thing. Like
that's interesting.
If you like the Yankees and I like the Red Sox, like we can't be friends, like all that kind of stuff, and I feel like that kind of bled over into some of these artistic things as well.
Sounds like it.
It was a weird vibe, man, but it's
interesting.
Cool here.
Well, and it also seems like it helps you see like the light, see the way, and B, gave you the motivation and want to like grow out of it. And show people that there's another way to do it. So I think it's all good.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to get into our set here in a moment, but before that, I just want to kind of like, because we are kind of still in the conversation of like VJing and the business behind it and everything like that. I want to talk a little bit about like, you have an agent. What is that like been like for you to have an agent? And, what does it kind of allow you to achieve and do? And what do you recommend people to seek out that kind of thing? And just kind of like give us a little bit of your experience of having an agent and a manager, because it's very sorry, I'm leading myself into it, but because it's very unique in the visual industry to have an agent and a manager, and so it's interesting to hear from your perspective.
Yeah. So I've definitely I've worked with a lot of different people throughout the past couple of years who wanted to kind of do management stuff. And with the management stuff, I kind of always came back to I feel like I know how to do this better, because the VJ stuff is so niche. It's such a weird world. You really just have to know how to interact with all these different people. The networking is very specific. How to approach and sell your product, your service. And I've had trouble, I've had artist managers try to manage me, and I mean I'm still open to that too. I just haven't found the right fit for that, where it's somebody who's actually going to be able to help me. Basically when I'm hiring somebody for a position, I want them to be able to do the job better than I can. Otherwise I'm gonna do it myself. Sometimes I don't have the time to do it, so there's a little bit of push and pull there. If they can do it as good as I can, then or even almost as good, I've got a little flexibility there, because obviously people can grow and learn. But I've had to be really picky about who I choose for my team, because some people just have other things going on, or they have other priorities, or, working with artist managers, it's just been tough. But with this agent, my agent, William, he is awesome. And I'm so lucky to have him. He approached me. Pretty much everybody who's wanted to work with me has approached me. I've really never gone out and looked for people for these roles, because my kind of mindset was I need to be able to do it myself before I can even know who's going to be able to do it better than me or properly. If I don't understand how to do the job myself, how am I going to know if the person's doing their job right? So that's why I've kind of run my whole thing for a couple of years now, and did it all myself so that I could figure out how to do it all by myself. Figure out the way that things should be done, the way that I want things to be done. And now that I kind of have figured out a system for how, to reach out to artists about shows, or, how to network and how to negotiate, I can start to find people to fill these roles, to do those things for me. And William just approached me at a show that I was playing here in Denver, probably about 7 or 8 months ago. It was actually maybe even a little longer, maybe about 9 months we've been together. And he just approached me and was like, hey, I work for this agency and like, I think I can help you out. Like if you ever need an agent for me to help you with bookings, then, I would love to be involved. And, I had a couple meetings with him. I met with his boss from the agency. Their agency like books reggae acts, but they,
Nice.
really believe in what I'm doing too. William is just a huge believer, and his boss is a huge believer, and they have like some really cool ideas for what we can do with it, in the future. And they also are very good, just from an agent's perspective, even though they're not like booking acts in the EDM scene, they are booking acts. They're booking acts, and they're booking a lot of acts. So like they know how to negotiate. They know how to like play that game. And I've found that William actually can do it better than I can. And so when I realized that, I'm like, all right, you're talking to everybody now. Like I don't want to have to do the negotiating. You can do it better. Like I pay him a percentage, but like with him helping me to negotiate and bring in more work, that balances out where the percentage I'm paying him, I'm still making more money overall because he's getting me more work. And also I found that an agent position is really useful, even more so than a manager, as long as you're good at doing the management part yourself, because one of the issues that I've encountered a lot over the last couple of years is I'll like have a whole run of work lined up, and I will like go out and do all this work, and it will be like a month and a half of like back-to-back gigs that I like spent the winter setting up or whatever, and then that run of gigs will end, and I'll have nothing lined up, because I've been spending all the last month and a half
So
doing
focused.
the other gigs,
Right.
like, so I can't do gigs and find gigs at the same time.
Right.
And so like, that's kind of what I came to realize. So I was like, what I need to do is just do gigs, like, and get somebody else to do the finding gigs. I'm still involved in the process. Like I'll like, I have my finger on the pulse. Like I'm looking at all the shows that are happening and coming up in Denver. And when I see, an artist that I've worked with in the past or that I want to work with or that I have any kind of ties to, or that I think, I could do a good job for, even if I have no ties to them, I'll just be like, hey, William, can you go find out who these people's managers are and reach out to them and see if they're interested, in having us on. And if so, like, do they want some custom content too? Do they want to get some time code bits? Do they want like any of these add-ons that we have available? Do they want live cameras? Like, do they want any of this? And so we basically like reach out to clients and try and upsell them, on as many of the add-ons as we can. And so that's also helped like creating these add-ons to make up for the, percentage that, I pay William. I've added on several more add-ons this year with the live cameras and the ability to time code and make time-coded segments. So, and I'm still, working out the best way to manage my time to make sure all of this work gets done.
Of course.
I actually have a little bit of a break right now. I don't have anything booked until Maddie O'Neill at Red Rocks next month for Res Rocks currently. A lot of things tend to come in very last minute, so I expect that I'll still have a couple of gigs next month. But like, I'm kind of empty right now, partially because William is taking some time off right now. Unfortunately, he was affected by like a tragic fire that burned his house down, and and his roommate didn't make it out. It was really sad.
Oh
actually.
shit! I'm so sorry about that.
So yeah, he's been dealing with that, and I'm just trying to support him as much as I can. And
that's nice.
So he's taking a little break. I do have somebody else from the agency who's helping me out in his absence.
Nice.
So they're making sure that, I have what I need. But William is just the man, and I'm like, I can't wait for him to be ready to come back.
Hell yeah. Did you find it that it was difficult to kind of educate the agent about like what visuals are and kind of like how to sell them? Or did you kind of feel like it was a natural kind of thing of like, hey, look at my show, this is what I'm doing?
It definitely took some time to educate on exactly what I do and how, to
Practice.
charge for the different
Right.
aspects of it, and negotiate and sell the different aspects of it. That's kind of why I've struggled with people in the past is,
Yeah.
even if you've done like music stuff, if you've been a music agent or a music manager, sometimes they just don't know how to sell the stuff properly.
Yeah.
So there was like a little bit of learning curve there.
Curve.
Like in the beginning, I think, there was just a couple ways that he would handle some of the negotiations and communications where I had to be like, hey, let's approach it like this. Like it's also very different when you're working with an artist team versus working with a promoter.
Right.
Because like a lot of the time when you're a music agent, you're just working with promoters, and you have a lot more like push and shove with a promoter than with an artist team. With the artist teams, we want to be like a little more gentle because these are like our collaborators and our clients that we work with regularly.
Just hiring you for a gig or something.
Right. Yeah. We want to create like a continued relationship with these people.
Smart.
So, we want to have some level of flexibility, not too much. We have to maintain our own value, but like at the same time, we want to, really be making sure that they're taken care of and that their needs are taken into account, and their like budgetary restrictions. Like there are sometimes like if there's a client who I know is not making a lot for a gig, we'll give them like some level of a price cut, especially if I'm doing other sets of the same gig.
Right.
Like stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot to it. All those different kinds of clients and different work you can do, like all from content creation, making time-coded stuff, loops, to playing sets, to even, projection mapping stages and setting up installations. There's a lot that the agent needs to understand. And but, he's really interested in the stuff, and he lives here in Denver. So he comes to a lot of my shows. Yeah, he's connected to the scene. He comes to a lot of my shows, and he sees what's going on. And, he's actually going to go probably run Astronauts mapping for me this year because my girlfriend's due date is right smack dab in the middle of it. So,
hell yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Thank you.
After our set as well. Just one last thing on this, because it's so fascinating. I think this whole kind of idea of an agent. What is like the well, first of all, are there other people on the agency? Like, do you have other people in the agency besides yourself?
There's no other VJs. Yeah, they have a roster, but they're reggae artists. So I'm the only VJ on their roster currently. It's like a new thing for them that they're branching out into. And really just because William believes in me, honestly, the reason why most VJs don't have agents is because there's not a lot of money in VJ. Yeah. Like there's just like, unless you're playing a shitload of gigs.
A lot.
Yeah. 10%, but 10%, $500 is like not that much money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like most of these, it's like nothing. So like these artists are like out here, like when you're booking for a music artist, they could be making 50 grand, you know, but it's tough to like, with the VJ service to get a cap on it. Yeah. Or to get it above a certain level, so, but, that's kind of why we're working together, because we're trying to change that. Yeah. So, like build up the value, like figure out how to build the value, build the brand, have different offerings that we can do to increase the amount. And also living here in Denver, I can play so many gigs, and I'm down to play so many gigs. And I'm like, William, if you can book me for this much work in a weekend, I'll friggin' do it, So sometimes I'll have like gigs 3 or 4 nights a week where I'm doing multiple sets, and, it stacks up. And the nice thing is, like, with the VJ, there's no radius clause. So even though it's tough to get so much, and the reason it's tough to get so much is just because most of the clients aren't making that much. Like there's some very high-end clients who are making enough, but still, even then, they're dedicating most of their budget to content creation, and the VJ rate is relatively like low. Low.
So an operator rate, just an operation.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's why you have to like figure out how to break down your pricing and sell them all these additional services, because that's how they think. You know, like I can't just come in and be like, you're going to pay this much for a VJ set because that's how much I'm worth. You know, like I have to be like, well, you're going to pay this much because I'm going to like spend all this time in advance setting up all this stuff and collecting all this stuff and building out this custom set. We're going to time code this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And all of a sudden the bill adds up. And now the agent is making a good amount, you know, and like, especially if he's selling like projection mapping and like, you know, like workshops, and like he's out there selling everything that I can do. So like, we're starting to figure it out how to make it worth it for an agent, you know, but it's just like for a long time, that's why there hasn't been too many. And, you know, so it's a very new thing that we're still figuring out. And, I'm really grateful for him for, you know, doing this with me. 'Cause like,
hell yeah,
you know, even the first couple months of us working together, you know, like it's not like I was still kind of doing a decent amount of it myself, you know, and like, so like it's been a slow growth for him in the financial side, but now we're starting to see, you
returns.
Yeah, we're starting to see more and more stuff come in, you know, it's like working.
Would you like, if you have like a long-standing relationship with a festival, will you bring him in, or will you just kind of continue your relationship with the festival?
I'm definitely going to bring him into those communications.
So you, like,
even
no matter
the long-standing festivals have like, you know, you got to negotiate with them every year. There's never
that's true.
You know,
That's true. It's never like
I
it's never
gotta
done
like
deal.
fight for my worth every single year.
That's true.
You know, so, and especially if it's gone up.
But
you
if
know,
it's like
there's
if you have a
negotiating
personal
that needs to
relationship
happen.
or anything like that, I guess it kind of like, it actually kind of makes it even a better.
It shields your personal relationship.
Shields your personal relationship.
Yeah, so you can be like, I can have my agent go be like, hey, like, this is my friend who runs this festival. I'd like you guys to talk and figure out this stuff.
Right.
And the guy who runs the festival is also happy to have a dedicated contact who's going to be responsive, because I'm off doing like mad stuff.
It makes you look more professional. It's kind of like, I always tell people, like, you know, don't be afraid to send an invoice or to send a quote, like, you know, or ask for all these things in your quote, because it doesn't make people, it doesn't alienate people. It makes them see you as a professional. It makes them see you as like a higher level person if you have a contract. People are like, oh no, I don't want to sign contract. He's my friend. It's a good vibe. You know, I'm like, no, it will make you look more professional, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
Super valuable information. David, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Of course.
I think it's a good time after this money business talk to jump into a little bit of the creative aspects of Actualize.
Yeah, let's do the fun stuff.
Let's do the fun stuff. So I think you have a Resolume set ready for us, and we're going to see kind of like how you approach it. So, you know, whenever you're ready, just take it away.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to like show you guys like what my comp looks like, which I've never done before. This is a new thing. Again, me like letting go of some of my secrets where I'm
a visual cast first.
Yeah, exactly. So you see it here first. All right. But yeah, this is kind of like a deck that I built recently for Vector. You know, and it's a lot of different content, you know, some that I made myself, some stock content, some like packs. And basically I just wanted to kind of go over like my workflow and how I like build it out to like do what I want it to do. And I know everybody has a totally different approach to doing this. There is no right way to set up your comp, but I've found that there are some ways that are just really powerful things you can do in Resolume. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll just kind of go over my layering. So I've got my 3 video layers at the bottom, and then I have a video mask layer. Since they introduced mask layers into Resolume, I've had a lot of fun working with these. And so I've found like different like, you know, clips that work really well as mask layers. So I can be like playing something on this one. That's kind of a tough example, but you can just kind of see it a little better there, where it masks out the bottom clip over, or the top clip over the bottom clip. So, you know, I can get some cool looks doing that. just using the masking and like different clips, you know, and then you can change out the clips in the background and like, you know, just basically play around with those masks. And then the next levels I have up here are color control, and color control is one of the things that I teach a lot, and I feel like it's one of the things that a lot of beginner VJs don't have enough control over, because you know, especially with people starting during COVID, there was no such thing as a lighting rig. You know, there's all these who started during COVID, and you don't have to work with a lighting guy or a laser guy, and that's really an important part of you know, putting on a good show, is making sure that your colors are cohesive across the stage. So having, you know, multiple ways to change and correct your colors without having to change your content is I think a really valuable thing to have, and something I really recommend to a lot of people on a pretty regular basis. So like, for example, like you know, this is like a blue clip, but there's a million different ways that you can colorize a clip. Obviously, like the first way is with colorize. You know, you can set it to a straight color, or you can set it to a palette in here, and using this colorize, you really change the vibe of a clip pretty hard using a custom palette or whatever. So like, I use colorize a lot, which is like, you know, the most simple one for sure, but sometimes it works, you know, especially if you have a single color clip, you know, like, and you just want to color it to a different single color. Colorize is a powerful one, and nice. I keep that on a layer above all the content so that I can just kind of flick that on, and now everything that I play below it is going to fit into that color scheme.
Nice.
So like, so if I am Cohesion. Like, oh shit, he just went red, you know, like I got to make everything red. You know, I've got my like red colorize here, and then I also have like a knob attached to the hue on here. So if it needs to be a different color, nice. You know, I can change the color of any of my color. It's on the layer level, so I can change the color of any of my different color effects to kind of match what I want it to be, and like all of them kind of have like a different look.
Is that like is that like a adjustment layer almost? I feel like such a noob.
I mean, that's essentially how it works. But yeah,
so if you just put an effect on a layer above other layers, it affects everything under it? I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, basically what it does is like, if you take an effect, like for example, if I just took like a, you know, a kaleidoscope or whatever, that's always what I go to. But yeah, if you take, just because it's easy to see, but yeah, if you have like this kaleidoscope or whatever, you just drop it on the layer and it creates a video router. So like, if you go into your sources, there's like these things called video routers.
Okay, so it's creating it automatically.
It automatically creates a video router that inputs layers below. Gotcha. So it essentially works as an adjustment layer.
Gotcha.
So that's how I do a lot of my effects, is I like to build them out on video routers on layers. And the reason I like to do that, yeah, instead of on the composition, and I do it for a couple of reasons. One, because on the composition, when you got a million effects on the composition, it's like so hard to see what you're doing. There's just this stack of things, and you're like, what's on, what's off? You know, like that's how, when I first started VJing, that is how I did it. But I would just find myself getting lost in the comp, and things would be happening, and I couldn't figure out why, you know, like, and now I've switched to like, I basically have no effects on the composition at all. And I do it all via these adjustment layers, like you said, because it gives you just so much more control. And the other thing is you can build stacks. So like, for example, instead of just having like a singular thing, you know, like on your composition, you want to turn on your edge, you can have an edge with like here, let me find a better clip to kind of show this. Yes. But you can have like an edge with like a you know, with a colorize on it. So now you can get kind of like a cool different look, or you can have like you know, all of these are kind of like stacks.
It's
you can
also,
have
it's like triggerable by just triggering it, right? You don't have to like think about the opacity
Right.
or whatever. You could just click on it and it's triggering it on and off kind of thing.
Exactly. And you can see it on over
can see
here,
it.
and you can
Right.
fade it on and off. So like if I want to
nice.
like, you know, I can like flick it on and off if I want, you know.
Nice,
So like
nice.
a lot of times I'll just have like an edge with a clip like this, and I'll just kind of like have this on a fader, and I can just kind of
Nice.
like, you know, like whatever, you know, like cut into
But
this
then
color.
how do you stack like two of them together if they're on the same layer?
So
Which have
basically, like
multiples?
this one, you know, I just did the Kaleido effects on here.
Right.
Yeah, you just add another effect. So like, you just put it on here. If I want this to also be like a
Right.
mirror or whatever,
Gotcha, you just
can
put it
have
on
like
it.
a mirror quad on top of your Kaleido.
Gotcha,
You know, and then
gotcha.
you can even have your mirror quad at like half opacity or whatever
Nice.
with like a light and blend mode or something.
Let's go,
So you
bro.
can like, yeah, you can just like create like crazy stacks that
Interesting.
do all sorts of stuff. You can put like, you know, you can stack like one of the things that I like to show people when I'm first doing this is like, you know, when you have like a polar kaleidoscope, like a lot of the times when you're trying to use a polar kaleidoscope, you get these weird like edges, you
Line,
know,
yeah.
like, yeah, these lines in the effect. But when you stack them, you know, you can put like, if you put a mirror quad underneath, it will like get rid of that line. And now like
Nice.
just having that one effect under the other effect, you know, like makes it like do a really cool thing. And then if I want to put like a slide under here, then like all of a sudden now it's growing out from the middle
Killer.
of my mirror,
Sick.
my polar kaleidoscope. So like, yeah, you can do like tons just with like stacking effects. You can create like really cool custom looks. And that's what I do. Also like, so I do it all, that's what I do for all these color controls, but I also use effect stacks for all my like strobe looks. So I've got like all these like custom built like effect looks that like affect the content, and I just have them on this is the other reason why I think doing it this way is great, because you can just have them on
Autopilot.
a slot like this. Well, no, and you can make it so that it's set your play mode or your trigger style to piano, so then only when you have the button
Oh.
pressed down does that effect go.
Nice,
So you
nice,
just like
nice.
set up all your different little you know,
That's so
hits,
nice.
and then you can just like, and then you can also build onto them. You can
Right.
swap them out super easily without needing to change your mapping at all, because the mapping is to the slot. So if you build a new one, you want to change it with this other one,
It's just
you
there.
can literally swap out the stack. You don't have to
Yeah.
remap anything. Whereas
Smart.
if
Or
you try
have
to do
remap
something
the
like
opacity or whatever, yeah,
that, yeah, like if you tried to do something like that with composition effects,
it'd be a
you're
crazy.
gonna have to like remap, especially if it's a stack of effects. You have
Right.
to like remap your button to the bypass on like 4 different effects.
Totally,
you know,
totally.
like it's like a huge thing. But like here, you can just like, you know, like create your own like whatever like
I love
looks, and then it just like adds a lot of energy to the set to be able to, you know, have these different little hits, and it's just so easy. Like I said, like compared to like trying to do this any other way, it
Right.
gives you these really easy hits. And then I have like below that, this is basically like my strobe layer or whatever. Below that I have, also on my color control layer, I have a mask layer above that too. So if I want to just mask like a color effect onto something, you know, I can get like, this isn't a great clip for it, but like, maybe like something like this. You can like,
Nice.
you can just like, yeah, mask out one of these different like color effects onto it.
Oh, nice.
And
That's really nice.
that gives you just like a really cool
super
look.
nice. Yeah.
You know, and then I have all these different masks that I like to use. You know, some I've made,
Just
some are
masking
just like
out the
stock
effect.
content.
That's so cool. And then you could change the effect that's being masked out as well.
Exactly, super easily. So like, yeah, you can just like do so
That's so
much cool
cool,
stuff
actually.
with
I
the
love
mask
that.
layers.
That's a really powerful.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Really powerful. Masking
Yeah,
out the
so-
effect.
Yeah, mask layers. Yeah, mask combined with the adjustment layer.
Yeah.
You know, like you're saying, like it's huge. And you know, mask down here with clips and mask up here, you know, like I was playing around with this the other day. Actually, this is a good example. Like sometimes I'll just build masks here in Resolume too.
With the
So like
generative
I was
stuff.
playing like with these 2 clips. Yeah, so like I'll just use like something like this, like lines, And, you know, like you can slide it down like that. And then if you put like a polar on it, it's like coming out from the center
pulse.
now. Yeah, you can like reduce your number of these and turn up your fuzziness, bring up your width or whatever and your fuzziness.
Nice.
And now you get
Get a
this kind
ramp.
of like,
Really nice
the
ramp.
clips kind of like fading into each other, you know,
love it.
like, yeah, so like, oh, actually, I think I need to go back that one black. Oh no, maybe you don't. Okay. I always thought you needed to do that. Learn something new every day. But
What you were saying
yeah,
before
so you
about
can
the
just-
color, by the way, one of the best effects in Resolume that I still have problems replicating in Touch Designer and whatever in my kind of generative stuff is in the hue rotate. There's a hue scale, so
oh yeah.
it's like
Oh yeah. I use that all the time too.
like colorize is one thing, right? Because colorize is gonna like do a really good job of like making everything one color. But if you have a
Yeah.
clip, like, and I use a lot of rainbow, I use a lot of like very colorful stuff. Sometimes
Yeah.
you need to crush that rainbow. You don't want it to be rainbow. If you
Yeah.
you can show it obviously, but
Like
it's like
this.
just the hue scale is so powerful because if you go all the way down,
Yeah.
you get one color. But if you go a little bit up, you get
Yeah, you can get the-
beautiful contrast colors.
Yes.
That is like so nice.
Yeah, and then you can rotate it and get like whatever color palette you want out of it.
Whatever color palette you want,
Like
and
any
it's like,
kind
and you're
of
not
dual color
you're not
palette.
breaking it, you're not recoloring it, so you're not losing the original colors.
I wish they had some softness on here though, is the only thing. Sometimes you can
for the harsh
see, like,
color.
Sometimes you can see like if there's too many colors combining,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can see, I mean, like you probably can't see it on this recording. You can
No.
only barely see it in this clip, but sometimes you can see like the
Like
pixels
edge.
where, yeah, you can kind of see the edge a little bit.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'll figure
I
it
didn't
out
even
one
notice
day.
that.
I do want
But
to
you know what I
figure
mean?
out
Like,
how
I
to
just, the hue
essentially
scale
rebuild
is
this
so
in
nice.
Wire. Yeah, the hue scale is super sick. I have actually, like, that's my other way that I do color control too, is on each layer, I have like a hue rotate each video layer, and then I have like both the scale and the rotate mapped. So I can take anything that's like on any layer and be like, oh, okay, shit, like, well, this should be like, you know, like I want this to be green now. And so
Right.
I'll like bring it down here and then rotate this one. And now I have like a green clip, which I can mix now like with this green clip. And now I can like
Nice.
create this new look. So like, yeah, actually I totally skipped that. Thank you for reminding me. That is the best one. That
Hue
is the best
scale is
one
the
for
shit.
sure,
I love
dude.
it. I love it.
Yeah, and then like I can take like if I want this clip to be in it, and I can just click on here to preview it. I'll be like, okay, so now I want this one to blend with these ones too. So I'll bring this down to here, so it's like a dual color thing, and then I'm gonna rotate into the green, you know,
I
and
guess
now I've got like
colorize
a
is
little
like
bit
more,
of a green and
it's
blue.
more automatic, the colorize, but I feel like the colorize, it's a little bit limiting because
No,
like,
I agree.
you know what I mean? Because it's
I
like
don't
you're
like
stuck,
colorize.
yeah.
I
It's like,
honestly, that was the first one I showed, but I never use it. This is the way that I typically do it. Like this sits here and basically never gets triggered. But yeah, I usually do it this way because, like you're saying, like you can just get way better palettes out of it.
it's better
The
palettes,
colorize
yeah.
basically, because basically, like when you're colorizing, like it's gonna colorize everything to a different color.
Yes.
You know, like you can't just get a nice, like you can't take a rainbow clip and get a dual color, like a
Right.
nice dual color palette
Yeah.
out of it like you can
Yeah.
like this. And it's not really using like, it's not using the original colors in the same way as
Yeah.
when you like reduce the hue scale.
I
So,
guess
like,
the colorize would be good for like a white clip, right? Because a white clip you wouldn't be able to use a hue rotate, right? Like a white, you'd have
Exactly.
to
Like
do
something
some
like
sort
this.
of coloring to it.
Right. Yeah. Like something like this. If I wanted this to be red, you know, I kind of have
Yeah.
to do it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are some reasons to use colorize, but like really I tend to use like colored edges or like the hue rotate, you know, like I don't like use like straight colorize that much because it just kind of like, you know, like it crunches the palette really hard and I don't know. I don't love it. Thank you for bringing that up. Hue scale is the
course.
king for sure. But yeah, so we went over basically the strobes and the color layers. And then the rest of these here are just like effect layers. So like if I like like distort layers, so like a mirror, like this one's like basic effects. So I've got like this one that has like all these like relatively basic effects that you can trigger on it, like flips and whatever, like kaleidos, whatever. And but one thing that I like to do that's really cool is I use these you can build wire effects that are transition modes. So I have these like custom wire effects where like if I want to, like, I've got this like circle mask invert, and it basically like does a circle mask around coming in from the outsides as the transition. So like I can kind of like, use my fader and just find like the perfect point here to like get a cool look where you're not losing the middle, but you still kind of get like a different thing behind. And then I can also change whatever is back there, and it gives you like kind of a nice way to bring a clip back. And the other cool thing is you can like set it on your transition controls here. So like you can just click something on this layer and the transition controls will, oh wait, I can't have both of those going on. But you can click it and it will just like pull it in from the center using that circle mask invert or whatever. So like I can just like click this and it comes in from the center nice and slow, moving through the transition mode, which is another, like these transition mode things, this is another huge reason why to put effects on layers, because you could never do that. It straight up would not be possible if you're just putting all your shit on the comp. Like whereas here I can get like a perfect transition to a different set of effects with like a custom transition mask, so it's like super powerful tool to get really nice clean transitions. Like just like it's awesome. I love it. So and then I have basically 2 layers of effects. I've got like, so if I want to stack them I can. Basically I used to in the beginning of my VJ, I had like a bunch of these. I had like tons of them, and I would just have like moving PNGs at the bottom, and I would like mix all this stuff live. But I've realized like it's much easier to mix like try and get your clips like to be what they're going to be in advance for the most part, and then just worry about like color and like some more basic effects than trying to like build a new clip out of a clip, live. Because that's like, unless it's like down tempo or ambient, then I never really do that anymore. But sometimes if it's a down tempo or ambient set, I'll just take some textures and start like making content with these layers, like blending different effects and using different masks and stuff. And you can kind of just like create nice new content, like on the fly, like in Resolume out of your existing content,
Nice.
So, yeah, I've got like a couple of these like type like glitchy line guys that I can like fade on and off, which make like nice little hits.
Nice.
Like all sorts of different like things. And these are all built off like third-party plugins too. So like I highly recommend third-party plugins. Yeah.
Those are not clips? Those are not loops? That's cool.
This is generative.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's
this
cool.
Metaballs is generative in Resolume. It's Shady Head Stash. Do you know him? You totally interview him.
So familiar.
He's sick. He's sick with it, dude. He's been making visuals in like HTML, like.
Oh shit.
He could do like crazy shit before people could do crazy shit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's got super interactive stuff.
He's the man. He made this like. He's got this like pack called WireGang, and there's just like all these generators and effects that he's just like built like different
like
shaders
shader toys
and, like,
inside of it.
Yeah. He's taken like shader toys and like translated them into Resolume generators. So sick. Like I have access to like all of these like crazy things that he's made, just like generators in Resolume.
Super nice.
He just like gave me the, wow, that would actually be a sick like mask cool. one. Shit.
Where are you gonna put it? You know, you could put it
Yeah,
in the
come
middle,
over
right?
here.
And it will push the
Yeah,
push
that's
the
what I was
clips.
just trying to do, but
It
it's
didn't
like
work,
not doing
huh?
it. Yeah. I don't know, maybe because
Maybe for effects it doesn't allow it.
I don't know, but honestly,
Of course, you know
like,
that. Like, you
yeah.
know, you can put it in the middle.
Oh yeah, see, there we go. Now we got some
Killer.
crazy shit going on.
Nice. Oh wow,
But
that's trippy as
yeah,
fuck.
the mask layers, man. Mask layers are like so powerful. Like, see, now I'm just using this like source that he made on this other clip, and like, you know, I can just change out whatever clip.
Yeah.
Whoops. But yeah. So basically, I love Resolume, and it's the best. And if you know how to use Resolume, then you can VJ all the time because it's like the main tool that you need. I feel like, and especially like when it, like I was talking about, when it comes to building custom sets, it's so much easier to do in Resolume than if you were going to try to do that in like Touch Designer or something. Like, you really need to, like, they need to basically pay you to create all the content for the set if you're going to run it in a generative environment. Or you just have all this sick content that you made, you know, like a lot of you guys already have, and you can just come run it. But it's harder to build, like, you know, like if, like for Vector, I'm like, I've got like this whole vibe that's like, we got like math stuff going on, you know, like Vector, you know, like I think of it like arrows and like, you know, like it's kind of like this custom like Vector look. And I didn't have to make all this content, you know, a lot of it is like stock stuff or stuff that like is in packs that I bought or like, you know, from different libraries, and it just like works with that Vector vibe.
Where do you get most of your loops from?
I get a lot of them from like stock video websites, like you know, Envato or Motion Array or whatever. I have a lot of clips too, just from like other like homies, like, you know, like people like give me stuff to play out, and you know, which I'm really grateful for. Like a lot of like sick content creators who don't get to play as much will like give me sick stuff to like play out. Like this one's like if it'll load, this one's from this dude J-Rod the Alien, makes like just super cool
sick
stuff. And yeah, so he gave me
He's
a
also a
couple
new
for
guy.
this like detox unit
Really
one.
nice stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the new guys are always like,
So
they're really
good.
willing to share their stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, because they just want to get it out there, and it's a win-win, you know, like because they get to have really cool content of their stuff to post, you know, like they get videos of it, and I get to have like sick shit for my arsenal,
fresh,
you know,
nice
like
stuff. Yeah.
and like a lot of the times, like I can show them like ways to mix it, you know, that they wouldn't have necessarily thought of.
Totally. Yeah, they get to see how their clips can. It's good for them to see the clips being used in a professional environment that's like, you know, not just them at home mixing themselves, you know.
Right. It'll help them to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made
I
it
should
like
loop
that.
it like
Maybe
this.
like
I should do it like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like it's definitely beneficial for everyone, and so especially me. I'm very grateful to have like.
Well, no, I mean like you're the type of person that would that wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you like my stuff, you know, like if somebody's like, oh, I love that, you'd be like, oh, that's my buddy J-Rod the Alien, he's sick.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. No,
so,
literally, I'd be like, yo, check this out. Like this is a Dakota one, like a Organism AV, you know, like.
Yeah.
And I love just showing off my friend's stuff. Like this is like a focal point one, you know, like, and they just give me this stuff, and
killer.
I'm super friggin' grateful for it because it's so sick, and I can bring it in and like, you know, like find the perfect moment for it to really hit too, you know, like, because that's such a huge part of VJing too that like a lot of people don't think about. It's like like playing the right content at the right moment, you know, like that's 90% of the job, you know, like if you can fit the vibe with the content. You know, it doesn't matter how much other crazy shit you're doing. If you've got something that's playing on the screen that matches the vibe of the music that's playing, 90% of your job is done. And then if you have a couple, you know, like whatever, like little hits that you can like do, like things like, you know, what that like helps a little bit. But like really like the most the biggest thing in VJing is you're just curating the vibe to the set.
Yeah.
You
Get
know,
the
like
music.
you're just you're just trying to amplify the music really, and
Totally.
like draw attention to it and create an environment that just works with it. So like, that's why, you know, like, I don't play all my own content, because like I want to like make the best like possible experience for the audience, and I know that like if I just try to use all my own stuff, I can't do that. You know, like I gotta lean on the homies who are making like the coolest stuff ever if I really want to put on like the best set and create the best experience, because like that's really my goal, is to just play the best set. You know, like I have no like, I mean, I love playing my content too, don't get me wrong. Like I have some like cool stuff that I like to play. I got the bender. Everybody loves the bender. And it's like, but it's like simple, you know, like it's nothing crazy, you know, like I'm not like some of these guys are like, they're wizards, you know, with what they can do. But I make like, you know, I make things that just work. This is another one I made, like these dancing people, like it's a vibe, you know, like, but it's not like the crazy stuff that like my homies can do. So
I think it's like what you said. It's like, you know, if you're VJing for 5, you know, hours, sometimes 12 hours, and, you know, there's vibes between different sets, then it's going to be in your best interest to play other people's stuff if that stuff matches with it. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people, you know, like, you know, myself as an example, because it's best, you know, to talk about myself as an example, but I only play my own stuff because my stuff is generative. So it's very easy for me to adapt to the different types of music. Now, that being said, if I'm hired to VJ like some commercial event, or even like outside of Psytrance, not just like a 1 hour set, like just like come do this, you know, VJ event, then I'll definitely load in my like loops that I have had over the years, because it's like, I know that my stuff is not going to fit. But I think that it's like, as long as it doesn't come from like a place of like an ego of like, oh, I only play my stuff. For me, it's like, I only play my stuff because it's fun for me. Like when I build a scene and when I build visuals, I build them in a way that I can have fun with it. So, and that's not like saying that like, it's not fun for me to use other people's things. I have many patches and real-time scenes that are from other people that I can use. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it's like, as long as you're like not doing it from like the place of like, oh, I can only use my stuff to be like Puritan or whatever, then there's no right or wrong way. It's just like, does the stuff that you have, does your content, is it going to work for the gig that you're doing right now, for the style that you're trying to do right now, which is what you said, you know. I think it's really all about that. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I can do, you know, so many more gigs too, though.
Yes.
You know, like, because it's just video. Like, for example, like, this is like a country music deck that I put together. I did this show on like the 4th of July. It's like, we got like American flags, and, you know, like, it was on these like square iMags, so I just had like, I had like a couple things, and this is all just stock content that I found.
God bless
like,
America.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun, honestly. Like,
you can do a RNC or DNC event too now.
Exactly. Now I'm ready. I've got like the whole deck. I even found this one that was like,
oh hell yeah!
It's like 4th of July, Happy 4th of July, Colorado or whatever.
So
sick. Like, yeah. So like, you know, there's so much good stuff out there, dude. I just found this stuff online. You know, and
that's
like,
such like an Envato. That's such an Envato clip of like, you know.
Oh, it's so Envato.
Somebody made so much money like investing his time to make that shit. You know, like a
for every single state.
Every state, he must have, yeah, totally. I remember the countdowns, like the you know, every year somebody would make a new countdown for that year, and they're just like, I'm gonna invest my time making this countdown, but some like 100 people are gonna buy it for that one thing, and it's gonna be like a nice payout. I love
exactly. Yeah, there's so much stuff like this on there, you know, and so like, and I went and I did a country music show, and it was kind of fun. It was mostly like an iMag thing. I had like an iMag with like a little, you know, joystick, and then I would just blend it with this stuff. But like, you know, and this isn't like the gigs that I'm targeting, but you know, being able to like, I'm like, yeah, I could use another like, you know, $600 this week, like whatever. Like, it sounds fun. Like, I'll just go chill and do like this show and pretty low pressure compared to what I'm usually at, you know, like
especially if it can jumpstart like a country star that do have massive budgets, that's gonna see it and be like, you know what, I like that. Maybe this guy can make some custom stuff, or even maybe like the next time they hire you to do more stuff. Like you said, like I think if you can still retain that, like, oh, I'm making my day rate, I'm making my show rate, like why not? It doesn't matter what the genre is, especially if you're having fun with it. Like, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes it's even more fun. Like this show is so fun because I got that little camera, and it was hilarious because we had to like set up in front of house, and it had the little joystick, and during the first band, there was like all these kids just like dancing in front of the stage, and so I had to like go and catch them on the camera and put them in the visuals, like all these like cute little kids like wearing
That's so
headphones
nice.
and like fake guitars and stuff, and they're all just dancing around, and like
that's so cute.
it was like such a fun gig, like, and no, I'm glad I got to do it. Got to see a sweet fireworks show, and it was like out in the mountains in Colorado. It was beautiful.
Dude,
so,
I remember
like,
back in the day when I was still like VJing a lot, because in Israel, like we would also be, there would be moments where I would do 3 shows in a weekend, like for like months at a time, especially in the summer, like the heightened thing. So, but then in the off season, when there was like all these holidays, there was like Independence Day or like a Memorial Day, like municipalities would hire me, and I would like VJ in front of like 50,000 people in like a city municipality. And I was like,
That's sick.
playing like the most bullshit. Like I remember like we did like remembrance, Israel Remembrance Day or Memorial Day. So it was all like, and I did like Holocaust Memorial Day. So it was all like, like wire fences, and like, really
brutal.
sad like silhouettes,
Yeah.
and I'm like, whatever, I'm getting paid, it's 2 hours of my time and I'm getting like a full thing. And but like the real thing was like the emotional impact of like, oh, like people are like crying of like, the memorial or like thing based on like the button, like based on my fader, like if I bring up this fader slowly, people are crying. It's like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, so man, it's cool to just be a part of it. Any kind of big event where you get to run a cool video wall, like,
totally,
it's fun, man. And that's not everybody's thing though. Like that's why.
No, I did it once,
and there's things that I can't do too, like like I can't go and make like, I think everybody has, so like the versatility that being really good in Resolume and running in Resolume gives me, it's not the same as like in Touch Designer. You can like, I've met people in Touch Designer who like built out like custom VR environments of like a, like a hospital or something, you can do like tons of crazy corporate work that probably pays even more, like, so like, it's really just like, but for me, I just like to run the screens, like that's my favorite thing to do. It's always been my favorite thing to do, like I like making content too. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still fun to like sit and make stuff, especially like if you're doing it with homies, I've found that I really enjoy that.
I think.
I like to
perform in the moment.
Exactly. Like I like to perform, like I like to be controlling the stage, and same with projection mapping, like I just like to be out there doing the stuff. Like controlling the big screens, the projectors, like I love to just be out on site with a MIDI controller. Like that's where I thrive. And that's always what I've wanted to do, So that's why I've kind of like gone in this direction as opposed to like sitting and grinding in Cinema 4D, which like I know a lot of my friends have. And now they get all sorts of cool opportunities that I only wish I could do, but like it goes both ways, like I can work with artists that they wouldn't be able to work with because like, their style is kind of like this thing
specific,
and I can be very, versatile.
Dave, do you think
there's opportunities that I have access to?
Where do you think that comes from? Sorry, where do you think that comes from? Like the want to perform? Because like, maybe does it come from your music background? Maybe like being on stage, kind of like, because it's a different, And I want to talk about this after the set, like kind of like the idea of like flow and kind of like that kind of conceptualization, but like wanting to perform and wanting to be in the live environment, like, because it's not like coding is sitting in a room. It's not even like really like visual arts, right? It's like that's an self-expression. Like it's very specific, right? Where does it come from for you, you think?
I think it does come from my music background because like really VJing it's kind of like playing a visual instrument. You know, like that's like the closest thing that I can kind of like compare it to. And so like I get to be a part of the music, you know, like I get to be a part of the experience. I get to like play along. Yeah, exactly. And that just like is so cool to me to be able to be a part of the experience at Red Rocks, you know, to like be a part of the band, you know, be able to like have done something that people are like, oh, that was so cool. And like they can come to talk to me and you like get in that flow. There's something about like, you know, like when I was in a band playing music with people, there's something that just feels good when you're like locked in with somebody on like a creative experience.
Best
you know, and it's just working and you're like, yes, you know, like, so it's just like, yeah, exactly. It just hits me, you know, like it gives me the adrenaline rush and it gives me like that artistic, like creative itch that I'm looking for specifically, you know, because it scratches both the music side and the visual side, you know, like I get to like, you know, play with all my strobes to the music, you know, and like play with clips, like chopping them to the music or, you know, like chopping in different effects, you know, like I'm really like trying to like be one with the music, you know, like, and just like accentuate every different thing that's going on. And so yeah, I mean, I think that's why I love it. It's because it is like an instrument, you know, it is like more of a musical thing, and I just love music. You know, music is what got me into this, you know, like, and there was a point where I had to decide whether to do the music thing or the VJ thing, you know, like when that promotion company started, and like, I wanted to do both. I wanted to do everything, you know, but I just kind of came to realize that like, I'm working a full-time job still. I can't really do everything, you know, and like, there's opportunities to VJ right now, whereas to do the music thing, like so much more competitive, so much more, you know, like to learn and just like it was just like it felt more saturated to me. Whereas like with the VJ stuff, I was like, there's an opportunity here where I can just like go right in there and start playing with headlining artists at shows locally right now, you know, and I can start like building that. And so
amazing.
Yeah, so I just saw that opportunity and I was like, I'm gonna do this because like I love this. It's still just as fun. And I actually think it's cooler than the music personally. You know, like
I agree.
You know, like the music is cool.
We're not in front of
people. But the
people.
performance of it, I mean, really.
Well, sorry. I think that on a lot of levels it's cooler because you're not like, your ego is in check a lot because you're not in the front of people. You're not like in the limelight, as it were, which, you know, no judgment, like everybody has their thing that they want to do. And it's not like, you know, everybody that's on stage is an egocentric, crazy person, but it's like, it's harder to, like, I think quantify, like, what am I doing? Why am I here? When you're the center of attention, people are looking at you the whole time. And essentially we're getting the same self-expression of like, here's my art, you're all looking at it, you're all enjoying it, you're all experiencing it, but we're a little bit protected because we're a little bit behind the scenes. And I think maybe there's some people that don't like that because they want to be seen, which I totally understand. I want to be seen all the time. It's like a very big part of my life, but I get that scene from having my art being seen. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Alone doesn't have to be seen. Alone's work has to be seen. You know, I'm talking myself in third person, which is weird.
But
you know what I'm saying, you know? So I think that's like, I think that, and also a lot of us are like very closeted, kind of like nerdy, like very introverted people that like, we're kind of like extroverted because we love being at parties or we love the scene of people, you know, but it's not like natural for us almost in a way. You know, it's more natural for me to be in the shadows. You know what I mean? So I think that's like kind of like the best of both worlds. And at the same time, like, let's be honest, like, what are people remembering from a show? They're remembering that moment that the lights flashed them in the face and that crazy visual popped on screen. And it's with the music. The music was the thing that generated that moment. But like, they're remembering the visual aspect of that thing, of how they felt, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's like a really common thing
Absolutely.
for people to kind
and
of
that's
like
one of
be
my
part
number
of.
one goals as a VJ too, is to create those impactful, memorable moments.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like that's like a huge part of what I'm going for in these shows. You know, a lot of the artists I work with will like send me the sets in advance, and we'll have like a spreadsheet, and we'll be going through to like plan what these different looks are going to be like. You know, and I'm like, this is going to be the chopper.
This is gonna be
I'm
the
like, we're
moment.
bringing in the chopper. It's going to crush right here,
I
dude.
love
Like,
it.
I'm
I love
telling
it.
you, we're going to level them, you know? I'm like, this track and this visual, they're going to be like, whoa, you know? So, like,
Hell yeah.
I love working with the artist in advance, too, for that reason, to be like,
Yeah.
I know the exact
Build
perfect
it.
visual to play
I
at this
love that.
moment that's going to, like, just, like, hit it so hard, you know? Like, I like
love-
busking too, you know, like I like freestyling.
Yeah.
But it's a little more stressful because you're like, oh shit, what are they gonna play? Like, what's
Especially
the vibe
when you
about
have
to
a
be?
bank
You
of
know?
clips, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm lucky because psytrance is like, you know, they're different styles, but it's like most likely the whole set is going to be kind of like the same energy, ups and downs
Right.
and like drops and breaks in the music. But it's like, it's going to be fast moving forward, powerful
Yeah.
the whole time. So it's like, I
Yep.
can kind of like get ready for that. You know what I mean? But it's like when
Yeah.
it's other types of EDM, like bass music, there's going to be like, you know, a glitch moment. There's going to be like a dub moment. There's going to be like, you know, especially
Yep.
somebody like, you know, eclectic
Drum and
like
bass
Tipper
moment.
or drum and bass moment,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, and you're
Yeah.
scrambling to get to the right clip for that.
Yeah.
Which can be fun
exactly.
too. Like you said, it can be fun in the moment, but having it organized
especially
beforehand
when
is
you
really,
get it.
especially when you get it.
But when you don't get it, you're like, ah, man,
Damn,
that could
I
have been
missed
so
it.
sick.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, that was such a sick set. And you're like, could have been sicker, though.
Could've been better.
Man. I'm like,
don't
I
even
almost
know.
every set I play, people come up and they're like, that was so sick. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, could have been better. Fuck.
That's so funny.
Unless I like have those. That's why I really love planning out. Like, it's rare that I get to do this, and now I'm like charging for it. You know, I used to kind of do this for some of my clients, like pro bono, just like do the whole set planning thing. But now my time is limited with the baby on the way and the pregnant girlfriend. So I'm like, if you want me to spend all week working on your set, you got to pay for every hour that I'm doing that. You know,
for
so
sure,
like,
for sure.
I don't have as much of an opportunity to do this now, but I'm sure that I'll still get, you know, some opportunities to do that, and I'll make concessions too for artists that I like. You
Nice,
know, like we'll
nice.
figure out a way to meet in the middle. You know, depending on what they can do. But like that's really like I did that for like I've done that for Easy Baked at Red Rocks a couple times. I did it for Killsmith at Red Rocks. I did it for the Manic Focus show at Red Rocks.
Nice.
Mostly those really big shows. And I started doing that with 100 Drums. She would send me her whole set list with timestamps and be like, can we
This is
play
a
like
moment,
this
this is a
for
moment.
this track?
Yeah.
And I would be like, yeah, actually I love this. And so I started doing that with like all my other clients. I'd be like, hey, can you like send me your set list with the timestamps and like and a recording of the set list, and then we can like go through.
It's the extra
like,
step, like it really is.
Right.
You know, because like I will definitely sit and listen to like the person's music that I'm going to be playing for, especially if I have like an hour set or an hour and a half set. I'll be like, I'll just like sit, listen to that music. But knowing the set list beforehand is the extra step for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, like sometimes I'll get the recording of the set and I'll listen to it like 15 times throughout the week. You know what I mean? Like,
be ready for
so
those
like
moments.
by the time I'm in that set, I'm like, I know exactly what's about to happen right now, and I got the perfect clip ready to go right here, and it's gonna be sick. You know, like I'm like, no worries. I walk into those sets with no stress, which is why I like those ones the best. Because like the busking, I walk in, I'm like, I hope I don't fuck this up. You know, I'm like, we'll see if I could get to the clip in time, or if like the drop is too fast and I'm not ready, or like, you know. So like,
for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. Busking is hard.
Let's jump back into here to Resolume. Is there anything else you want to show us? Like some more stuff. We have some more time for sure.
So yeah, so recently, basically, I got this gig at Secret Dreams projection map the outside of the art gallery, and my immediate thought was like, let's use art from the artists inside the gallery. I think that'll be really cool. Draw people into the gallery to see the art, and they can be like, oh, I just saw that piece in the thing, you know. So I collected a bunch of art from all the different artists that were playing, and I was on a relatively short, or all the artists that were hanging in the gallery, and I was on a relatively short time frame. So, you know, I do sometimes do some of this in
After Effects.
Resolume, or I mean After Effects. Yeah, but like for this one, I was just like, let's just do this here in Resolume because I can do it so much faster. Um, and the other thing, like when you're doing these like stacks, like I was showing you where the effects are on a layer. It gives you the ability to, like, if you want to like change out the art that's in the background, you can just run any piece of artwork through the same stack. And so like you can pretty much just like, you can even just make like one cool effects combination and do it for all of them. But for this one, I made, you know, custom stacks for each piece. And basically I just set it all on autopilot and had it run through here, set the duration to everything, and I recorded it through the Mad Mapper mapping.
Nice.
And then so I had like a 30-minute recording on the mapping, and then I just uploaded it to a Mad Mapper box. So so I had to sit there and do both recordings, which was kind of annoying, but other than that, it worked really well. And so yeah, basically what I did here was like I started, you know, just like with the art at the bottom. So like this is the bottom layer. You can see it's just the art scrolling up and down. I animated the Y parameter. I used a quadratic in out on the envelope just so it like slows to a stop instead of like bounces. So it's a little more smooth. And then I just started applying effects on top. And so I started with like this ripple here. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe I want like a mask layer on top of the ripple. So like I actually have the ripples running through this mask. So here you can see where like some transparent parts of that are. So like it'll be rippling, but underneath the ripple, you can kind of see like the base image that's not rippling. So like right there, like you'll just catch like little glimpses of it not rippling, and that creates like, you know, a really cool look there. This one I basically did the same thing, ripples with like a thing here, and then I also had this effect with another mask layer, so I've got like, you can kind of see here where that mask applies to it, and so I've got like this shine that's kind of like running through it from the center as an overlay. And then I came in here and I did some different like you know, color and lighting adjustments just to make it work on the mapping. And then some of them I did totally differently. Like this one I used like, you know, some different effects, and maybe didn't use the masks on everything. I think this one I had like this mask on the ripple where like, you know, if I wanted to, you know, change that and make it something like with a smaller ripple, you know, I could just do something like this. And now you get like a completely different look out of it just by changing the mask.
Killer.
On the ripple. So basically, yeah, I just do a lot with like masks and effects when I'm doing these different art animations in here. There's like some cool third-party plugins that I've got going on that are creating some of these fractals. They're just peeking in over the side.
Nice.
There's another one of these third-party players creating the wrapping. Oh yeah, they were stoked.
Gallery must have loved this.
Oh yeah, the artists were all stoked. I need to like, honestly, I need to like record out all these animations and send them to the different artists too. But yeah, the gallery loved it. I think we got some good videos. I wish I sat there and recorded the whole 27-minute experience, honestly, but I've got the content, so I think I'm just gonna render out all this content to clips, and like, you know, I can use it now too, or I can I'm just gonna like probably do like some collaborative Instagram posts with the painters on some of these, you know, something like that. And like, yeah, some of them just came together like really well. Like this,
so
like this stuff is shit.
Do you just like sit down and just like mess around and see what works, or do you like spend, you know, you kind of like know what you're gonna be doing when you go and do it? Because it's like, you know, you're kind of yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much mess around and see what works. I'm like, I look at some things and I'm like, I immediately know, I'm like, oh, this will look cool, you know, like if I do this one thing.
Right.
I'm like, okay, so this is a center focused one. So let's have some stuff coming out from the center. This one I actually have like this, on the base image, I've got this wire effect that I built. It's like a square background creator. So it actually like takes the image and like puts a softer, smaller one on a background, and you can change like the size of the background.
Nice.
And animate. You could animate these parameters too. Change the scale of the foreground so you can animate all stuff going in and out. If you wanted, I could animate all these parameters. I have like a couple of effects built in. So like I've got this like ripple that just like gets applied to the back layer, and I've got like an opacity for it and a couple different like control parameters for it. So this is actually like this effect alone, you can create some like pretty good
super cool stuff.
like I've got this like duplicated on the side thing. I've got all these different effects just built in, mirror quad, like whatever. So this one I used as the base for a lot of them, just like get a starting effect, and then I would start to just kind of play with other effects on top and be like, does this look good? Like, a lot of art, looks good. Like there's a couple things that just like work a lot, like the ripples and, the infinite zoom type
Iteration,
looks,
yeah.
exactly. Like the fractals, like duplicates of the image in different geometry, like moved around, like different parts of it, so like there's like some different things that I'm usually going for. And I kind of like start to get ideas as soon as I look at the piece for like, what's going to look good on this one. Like this one I took like this one effect allowed you to like break up the different pieces of it and like rotate them. This like third party plugin, you can like rotate like different pieces of the image. And so like on the base level I did that. I took this like circular thing and I just started animating all these things to like be moving around in circles.
Sick.
And then I started to do like this fractal displace thing, which is kind of like this, it's like a lens that kind of like sucks it out. And then I've got like this the lines mask on top of that, so you've got like a bigger version kind of like fading into a smaller version in the center. And then the same thing kind of like with the shine. I've got like the shine like moving out from the center based on this mask, it's like masking that effect out. So like, and then this one I took a totally different approach too. I like blended a clip that exists in here, like this glowing math one I kind of layered on top. And then I used this like linograph and had them kind of slowly fading back and forth, like switching from, the linograph to the non-linograph. And then I had like a, like a mask layer running on top of like an edge, so that you get like an edge that's kind of like clouding in on different parts too. This one looks a little messy. I could probably go back and make this look better, but there was a couple cool ideas that came through here that like I think I could use to do this a little better. But this is just like straight up a painting of a wall, or a picture of a wall. This is like a mural. So to be able to just do this so quickly and easily, like I know you can do like very similar stuff in Notch and Touch Designer and all these things.
Did you just say the N-word?
You can do similar stuff. Notch, yes. I've been getting into Notch. I have like a couple clips I made in Notch. Did I show you? I guess I didn't show you those, but
yeah, show me. I have the long-standing beef with Notch.
Oh yes, I've heard about your beef with Notch.
Yeah,
Steven
even
told
though I
me.
mean, like I pretty much elevated my career by using Notch for many years. Yep. But it's just been I've just been kind of like just sick and tired of it, and I haven't really touched it in a year.
Yeah,
maybe more.
The pricing model is insane. I've been paying $100 a month for like 9 months and like not using it at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating. Like my computer went down for a little while. And I just like, I had all this time basically that I was planning on diving deep into Notch and learning all this stuff. And then my computer broke and like all my computers broke, and I was in like a computer fixing period for like
Oh, no.
3 months before I could like my whole winter when I planned to like get better at a lot of stuff kind of just got like a little screwed up by that. But see the vector deck. But I do still plan to dive back into it. I do love how you don't have to wait. Like the real time rendering thing is.
You should get into
It's
Touch
a game
Designer.
changer,
With your
like
with
we're
your
talking
computer
about earlier.
background, you should get into Touch Designer. You would be so fluid with it, with like the logic and the scripting.
Yeah, I'm sure I could.
You should get into Touch Designer. Notch is fine, but it's like, you're not. It's just making cool stuff.
It's so much
But
faster.
it's like whatever. You don't need to make cool stuff. You have so much cool stuff. Like I think that you would be really more into like being able to program smart things and like logic and ease of use and generative stuff as well. Is this a Notch? This helicopter?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the
Chopper.
helicopter I made in Notch. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, the chopper. I love how you can do like animated textures really easily in Notch.
Yeah, it's fun.
So that's kind of what inspired this whole clip. I was like, I want to make like a Matrix thing because I've always wanted to like
Nice.
make a Matrix inspired clip. That part in the Matrix where Neo like discovers that he's the one and sees all the
I'm the
code in the
one.
world is like, dude, one of the coolest like visual moments for me.
Totally.
As a young child watching movies, I was like, whoa, what the yo sick. I still don't know how they did it back then, honestly. But yeah, so I've always wanted to be able to make a clip like that, and so I did that with this one. I've got a couple different renders out of it. I've got like the up close of the pilot in here too.
Cool.
So
I like
I'll
that.
like cut between like the pilot and the heli and like a couple different shots of the heli. This one gets like up close.
Is it shooting?
Yeah, it is.
It's very aggressive,
shooting out the
bro.
little turret.
Very aggressive.
Yeah. No, I know, you're right. But dude, some of this music is pretty aggressive. Have you heard
That's
dubstep?
true. Yeah, exactly. It's like, why isn't the helicopter shooting the crowd? What the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?
exactly, dude. Like, have you heard of Excision? They're shooting everywhere, dude. But yeah, Keith actually helped me out with this one. Keith and Steven both kind of helped me
Nice.
like dial this in. We just sat on Notch and they kind of helped me
Fractal
like
Visions
figure it
and
out.
Glass Crane, the masters.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So they know everything about this software, and the only way that I'm able to do anything with it is if they're there. So,
Nice.
or probably you. I bet you could help me with all this shit too.
I can. I mean,
This
I
is another
honestly
one I
like
made in Notch,
I
a little
don't
more simple,
like
but
it anymore. But I could still make anything in Notch. I've moved my whole
Yeah.
I've moved my whole workflow into
Hell
Unreal.
yeah.
Into Unreal and Touch Designer, and it's just like I'm just so
Hell
much
yeah.
happier.
That seems
more
like the
fluid.
move. I mean, yeah, Unreal
You
seems
know,
like the future.
It's definitely, me and Steven have this this back and forth even though like Steven's like I love Steven, he's a good friend of mine, but like and we get into these like friendly arguments all the time, but it bothers me because it's like
Dude.
he's only been using Notch for like 2 years, and I've been using Notch for like 7 years, and like and it's like the argument is it's fast and it's easy and I can do things fast, and it's like, yeah, for sure, like I can't argue against that. That's like so true, but it's not as good, and it's like it's never gonna look as good, and it's never gonna be as open source, and it's never gonna be as fluid, and like I think people like Steven, it's actually really good for them because he isn't like programmatic, and he's not thinking of things like code and like logic. He's a much more artist-based person of like, I want to make things look pretty and fast, which I completely respect. But I think people like somebody like you who kind of has both of these kind of like ideals, you're gonna get so much more out of Unreal. Like, yes, you got to spend the time to learn it, just like any
Just not
software.
as
And
fun.
yes, you can't do things as fast that you can do in Notch, but like if you know how to code, if you know how to blueprint, if you know how to like understand logical things, you're gonna get so much more out of it. Anyway, that's my spiel.
No, you're right. I hear you. And it's
And it's
on
free.
the list of things to learn. There's just so many things that I want to do, and it's like I find myself just playing gigs because that's kind of like, it's tough once you I've found like once you get going doing one thing, it can be hard to find the time to do other things.
Totally.
I've basically become like a Resolume specialist, and a Resolume operator. And so and there's so much work doing that I would love to learn all this other software, but by the time I get home after the festival, I got 2 days till the next festival, man. I want to sleep. I don't want to watch tutorials,
Totally.
I'm tired. So
Totally.
and so every winter I'm like, okay, it's winter. I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff. And then but my winters are getting busier now too, because I have more and more, every year I'm like, oh, I'm going to have 3 months off. And then all of a sudden, all these gigs pop up and I'm like, okay, well, I guess, we're still working.
That's so funny.
Or my computers break, which is what happened this winter. I was like, I got 3 months, and then my computers broke, and it was my desktop that I just built. So I was like, I had to figure it out myself, and it was a whole bunch of switching out components and troubleshooting for 3 months before I was up and running with all my stuff again. So I kind of missed my learning period this year. I get 3 months a year that I get to learn new stuff. And then the gigs hit, and I'm like, all right, here we go. So that's at least been the pattern recently.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dave, for showing us your Resolume patches and kind of your process. It's super fascinating to see kind of a high-level Resolume user and how they approach it, how they, the different tips and tricks, the magic sauce. Appreciate you being open with us and sharing it with us, because it really,
of course.
It really elevates everybody, and I hope it does for you too. So,
absolutely.
Getting into our, second part of the interview, what is your take on the kind of spiritual side of expressing yourself and kind of performing? We talked a lot about performing and what that means to be in the flow state. I want to actually equate the flow state to snowboarding in a moment after this, but kind of just on the spiritual side of what it means to express yourself, what it means to perform for people, what it means for, we're in these festivals and these electronic music scenes. People are doing psychedelics. People are opening their minds. They're also there to self-express. They're also there to be, open and have an experience. We take a big part of that, and the visual messaging and the intention behind that is very powerful. So I'm just wondering, what that feels to you. How does that meet you?
Well, like I said before, I think part of why I love doing what I do is being able to create those impactful moments, impactful, artistic, inspiring moments for people at these events and kind of help them to change their lives for the better, like I was able to. I really love the opportunity to be able to create experiences for people that were, the formative experiences that have, kind of made me the person that I am. So to be able to share on a big stage like that and just show people a new art form in a lot of ways. I think it's really cool because, like I said, for me, I never thought I could be an artist. I thought, I can't draw, I can't I could have maybe been a musician, but I just never really went hard enough down that route. And so, and I always kind of thought it was such a competitive thing and a hard thing to be a musician, and I never found, the music that really spoke to me to make anyways. And, so the visual thing, it really, for me, really changed my life in a big way and gave me the ability to express creatively, where I never thought I would be able to before. And I love being able to show people what you can do, that there are other ways to approach creating art that can impact people, as opposed to just the traditional forms of art. There's all this new technology and new ways to express via technology. And that was just very inspiring to me. And I think, that is, when I think about like kind of what I'm giving to the audience, that's what I'm trying to give to them, is to give them this experience that's like, wow, like this is possible. What is, like, he went and did this. What can I do?
Yes.
Like, what can I find my thing too? Like, and maybe there are things outside of what I even would have thought was a way to express creatively that exists that I can now learn, whether it's projection mapping or running visuals. Both of those things are huge. I love them both so much, and it's such a cool way to do art that you don't need to have necessarily the skills that traditional artists have. You just have the eye for it and know how to use a computer. And so that was like that's really kind of like the biggest thing that I think about it kind of spiritually, in a way where I'm connecting with the audience. Like, what am I giving to them? What am I trying to show them? It's inspiration. I'm trying to inspire them like I was once inspired.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's very potent. I think inspiration is one of the strongest energies, because it's a give and take energy. It's a really beautiful torus or Ouroboros or whatever, flow, circle, whatever you want to call it, where it's like you inspire others. By inspiring others, you're inspiring yourself, and it kind of creates this really beautiful circle of, intention, manifestation, and spirituality is such a loaded word. I don't like to use it. It's just lack of a better word, but I think what I mean when I say that word. It's not like God per se. It's more of just like the unexplainable, ineffable kind of things that we kind of experience, like a flow state, like feeling good when you inspire somebody. So I think it's nice that you can quantify it like that, or put your finger on it like that, because it really is a powerful thing. We do have I think we have a responsibility, but first and foremost, we have the opportunity to inspire and to elevate people's experiences, and that's why I have a very hard time. I was very half joking about your helicopter shooting, but I sometimes there's a lot of imagery and iconography that I don't necessarily agree with or I don't like, and I've flip-flopped on this topic a lot over the years. I can give an example. Like, I have two examples of this. One is VJ Vacau, good friend of mine. He was on the podcast as well. He's an amazing VJ from Brazil, and we were at a show together. We were doing a back-to-back in Shankara in Switzerland, and he has a bunch of AI stuff of like these like morphing Indian gods, like Shiva, and kind of like morphing in and out. And there's like a lot of iconography of like breasts and a lot of arms, and like very striking and super cool, very perfect for the moment. There was like some sample in the music of like, I'm on a Shiva, ha 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 ha. So you like put it on right there. It was like perfect moment, And some guy totally strung out comes, is like, you're ruining the culture. You're destroying the culture. You're like he was like really like he was like, you're disrespecting the gods. Like some like, what the fuck are you guys? And me and Vacau like looked at each other like, what is this guy talking about? Like, Vacau is like the sweetest, nicest, kindest, beautiful person. Like, his intention was completely the opposite of that. His intention was, something really positive. And I think that like, and in that moment, I was like kind of conflicted of like, oh, if his intention is so strong of like, oh, I'm just trying to make a cool show, but this guy is receiving it in such a strong way of like being offended, then what does that mean? And that specific moment was like very clear to me, because that guy was just like totally strung out and like, didn't actually know what was going on. So he just found us to yell at, you know what I mean? But And then another example was at Modem. I won't say who it was because this is a negative example, but at Modem, you know, I was on the dance floor, and all of a sudden, I guess if I say what I saw, then it's going to be obvious, but all of a sudden I saw some characters that were very like dark and aggressive and like almost demonic, you know, and like spiders and all this kind of, actually I could say, because I approached him and spoke to him about it, but like all these kind of like weird like creatures, and you know, and the creatures didn't bother me because I think the creatures are like, you know, everybody can find cool things within something and people can relate to things in different way, and again the intention is really strong. But the creatures at some point started attacking the audience, you know, and like it went from, oh, this is kind of creepy and cool, to like, whoa, I'm tripping balls right now, and like this demonic creature is attacking me, and like that to me was too far, you know, and like even if the intention is like fun and playful, it can be lost like pretty fast if like the character is attacking and demonic. And again, I'm not like saying anything negative about these specific people or these VJs, and I've already expressed my feelings to them, so they know what I think. But
yeah,
I think there's a thin line, and I think that thin line is tethered with intention, but can also be broken with like specific content, right? And I think that as VJs, we have a responsibility to walk that line sparingly and walk that line with respect, or you know, with reverence, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I definitely play some dark visuals, I'm not gonna lie. I love the skulls and the horror, you know, like I don't go too deep with it, but like I definitely, like, sometimes that's the vibe, you know, like I'm really just trying to match the music, 100%. You know, like, and sometimes the music, that's the vibe of the music, and like I want that music to come through. And sometimes the vibe of the music is dark, you know, and it is scary.
Totally.
And like, you know, like if I want to create a cohesive experience, I got to go dark and scary.
Definitely.
And, you know, sometimes that's just like, that's the intention of the artist playing the music, you know, like that's what they want to do. And I'm just in the passenger seat, just making it what it's supposed to be, you know, like,
yeah.
And I think that like, and I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with dark music either. I think that, you know, like, or aggressive heavy music, or even aggressive and heavy visuals. I don't think that, you know, people are going to go out and necessarily be like violent and aggressive towards one another after hearing this music. In fact, in some senses, I think it's like,
it's a release,
you know, kind of like, it's a release. Yeah. Same thing with like violent video games or violent movies, you know, it's like, I don't think playing that stuff or watching that stuff makes anybody more violent. If anything, it gets it out of their system, you know, and they're like,
in a healthy
you know,
way.
now they've kind of like, in a healthy way. Cause I think that we all have like a range of emotions, you know, like, and so like, and music is made to kind of go with the emotions.
Was like, he said to me is like, I'm just letting out my demons. And I was like, oh shit, that's actually really potent. Like, you know, like, I get that. Like, I get that. And I never held it against him. It's just like, I was on the dance floor tripping balls, and I was like, no, stop, you're attacking me, you know? So I was like, I ran to the booth. I'm like, no, please, stop it, please, you know? It's like,
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
No.
And he's like, don't worry, it's just 3D. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. It's just 3D.
Yeah. It's not real. Don't worry.
It's not real.
Nobody's coming to get you. You'll be all right. No, I totally hear you. I mean, same thing with like horror VR. Oh man, like that stuff is like really scary. You know, but like I think that like sometimes like the art is art, you know, and sometimes it's scary and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's cool, and like, you know, and to be a versatile VJ, you kind of need to fit in all those boxes. You know, I don't love like I'll tell you one person's visuals I don't love though is like I don't like the figure terror vision thing at all.
The what?
I don't know if you've ever seen it. Figure, I guess he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but there used to be this guy called Figure.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure he's still around, but he would do this thing called Terror Vision, and it was like this whole like time-coded show. Yeah, Terror Vision, and it was just clips from horror movies.
Oh,
like the
weird.
most intense. Like uncomfortable, like needles in eyeballs and people's
yeah.
like flesh getting pulled off, you know, and like, you know, like it to like another level of
Right,
like
like it's okay to
violence
do
and
that
horror.
for like a moment, I guess,
you
if
know.
like you're trying to express something, but like a whole show like that is like, why, you know? But that's the same.
But I mean,
same,
also like if you're not into it, you can walk away. You know, like that's
Yes.
his thing.
Yes.
You know, like I think that if that's how he wants to express himself in his art, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know,
Totally.
if somebody's getting freaked out, you just leave. You know,
Totally.
like, you know, to each their own. I don't think that any art is good or bad necessarily.
No. So I think that at the end of the day, it all comes down to like, you know, like you said, like we were saying, like art is art. The intention is what's important. If somebody's like putting on demonic visuals or terror visuals and its intention is to scare people, probably not the best thing. But maybe the intention is to, like we said, like, you know, let people's demons out or express yourself and release it in a good way.
Even if they are trying to scare people, I mean, some people like to be scared.
Totally.
You know,
You're
like
right.
if
You're
you're
right.
going to the figure show and like you want to get scared and
That's
the artist
true.
wants to scare you,
Right.
then like
you
everybody's
don't have to
getting
be
what
there.
they want.
You don't have to be there. That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
That's true.
Like you can leave. It's
That's
like
true.
it's not for everyone, you know.
Totally.
So like,
I guess the intention
I would
goes
say,
both
like,
ways.
If it's like a psychedelic trippy chill set and you hit them with like something like that, you know, like that's wrong. You know,
That might be fucked up. Yeah.
Like if you're like doing a tipper ambient set and you bring in some demons, you know, like you're wrong for that, you know, like. But I think in most
if you're in
cases,
modem,
it's like
if you're in modem and the music's like 160 BPM and it's late at night, then I guess like that's probably totally legitimate.
Yeah, exactly. People are out there to get scared. It's scary music. It's like,
Okay, so coming full circle all the way around, you know, and we kind of spoke about this a little bit, but like, you know, the flow state, you know, and kind of like what it means to you, how it relates to you performing visuals. I think that it's very clear that like a sport like snowboarding or an activity like snowboarding is completely flow state adjacent. You know, so tell us a little bit about how that meets you and what you think about the flow state and you know, snowboarding in general.
yeah, I mean, the flow state is very real, and it's definitely both in snowboarding and VJing, and you know when you're in it, you know, like, and that's what we're always going for, is to try and get into that flow state, because once you're in the flow state, it all just kind of like makes sense, you know, and you don't have to like think about it so much anymore, and you're kind of just like doing it, and you like know, you're like, all right, I'm in it with this music. I like kind of know like where he's going with this, and you're like, before he even plays the next track, you kind of know what the vibe's going to be, and you have the clip ready to go, and then as soon as he comes in with it, you're there with it, you know, like, and it feels great, and you're just like, I'm in it, and it's kind of like, you know, I'm a big Power of Now guy, you know, like, and I think it really is, dude, it's so good. I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. Totally. And it's so good, and it helped me like understand a lot of stuff about life, my own life, you know, and life in general. And I think that like being in the flow state is like, it brings you powerfully into the now. You know, like you're not like worrying about like anything that happened in the past. You're not worrying about anything that's happening in the future. You are like purely in this exact moment. And you know, you like, and if you're worrying about the future of the past in like, what am I going to play in 2 seconds kind of way, you know, like that's a little different, you know, like that, that's not like the same, like, it's not like anxiety or like, it's just like you're in that state and in that moment. And the same thing with snowboarding, you know, like when you're in the zone with snowboarding, you know, you're just heel toe, but you're not thinking heel toe. You're just going, you know, and you're like, you see what's happening, you see what's coming next, and you do the right thing, you know, and like you switch back and forth. You're like, oh, here comes the next turn. I'm like, I'm going to go around this, and there's a little jump. I'm going to go off that. And it's like, but you're not like, you know, like you're not thinking about anything else but what you're doing, you know, like you are purely in the moment, and nothing feels as good as being in that flow state, you know, being just like fully locked in with what you're doing in the current moment and being fully present and just like really just appreciating the now, like appreciating the current moment for what it is. And flow state is very powerful, and I think it comes with time and ability to be able to enter that flow state. But man, it feels good once you get in there. I've felt it playing video games too. Sometimes you even feel it when you're just like driving your car, like I'm just like driving my car.
Driving your car, not thinking about too much. Yeah, for sure. I love getting into it when I'm like not active, like when I'm like making something on the computer. I mean, I guess it is very active, but I mean like not like, performing is active, snowboarding is active, driving is active. You're kind of engaged. Yeah. I love getting into it when I'm just like in a conversation, or like when I'm like sitting making art and I'm just like, and like 5 hours went by and I'm like, whoa, did I just make some crazy cool shit? Like, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And The Power of Now is a great book. Eckhart Tolle. I highly recommend it. I remember I actually only read it like pretty recently, like maybe like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Oh, nice.
And it was funny because when I started reading it, I'm like, oh, like I know all this stuff already. Like I'm doing all this stuff already, but the way that he like languageizes it, I don't know what the right word for it, the way that he brings it into like a 3D dimension, like of like with words, was so powerful. And it helped me so much to like be able to recall the things that I did naturally when I wanted to, and not just like because I'm feeling good or elevated or I'm in a ceremony or I'm in a party or whatever. I could do it like before I go to sleep, or when I'm kind of like just in a bad place or something like that. It was really really great book to like quantify, even if you like me are spiritual or like think that you're elevated or whatever. It's a good book to give you tools and kind of like put the things into like a really physical word kind of dimension. Highly recommend it.
It makes it all make sense,
It makes it all make sense,
It is stuff that it does feel like you're reading things that you already know, but you're just like, oh, right.
Right, totally.
Like, I see, right. That makes so much sense, because you're like, it is kind of like how a lot of us already operate, especially if you're like a flow state artistic person. Like a lot of that is like a lot of what we do is, we're going after that being in the now, but we don't really like think, like, I think, like it's not as intentional as it was after I read that book. Now I'm like, totally. Now that's like,
and just being able to recall those things, like, there's that really simple, technique of like, looking at your thoughts from the perspective of something of like you're yourself, your thoughts are outside of yourself, and then letting them flow without judging them. Like that has helped me so, like just the simple technique of just like letting that like a meditative thing of just like, okay, whatever thoughts coming, I'm gonna let them come. They're not me. They're my thoughts. They're outside of me. I'm not judging them. Like the amount of anxiety that's helped me reduce and like clear is so crazy, So I really highly recommend that book for sure. And speaking of, elevated places and flow states and spirituality, whatever, you're becoming a dad, which is really exciting. I'm super happy for you. I'm a new dad.
Yes.
So I don't have too much advice, but I have, a little bit. It's a really, and we spoke offline a little bit about this as well, but it's a really super exciting time. You're gonna be so you're gonna be blown away by the amount of amazingness that is gonna come to you. I think the biggest thing that came to me, so many things came to me, but one of the biggest things that came to me was no matter how much, and this is maybe like the narcissist inside of me, but no matter how much, no matter what art I've done, no matter what project I've done, no matter what like pinnacle of my career I've had, nothing will ever be as like amazing as this creation that I've made. You know what I mean? Like not even close. Like and I look back at all the work that I've done, all the art that I've done, all the moments that I've had, and it's like everything pales in comparison to like experiencing this work of art that you made,
Yeah.
and it's just so powerful. Like, that being said, hardest thing I've ever done in my life as well, considering
Yeah.
the late night VJ life of like, not sleeping
Yeah.
at festivals. I have never been as sleep deprived as I am, and I'm already like, 17 months in, and I still can't understand how I'm still functioning with the little amount of sleep that I have. It's relentless.
Yeah, I hear you. So we've been practicing the no sleep thing. So
No, that's actually a really smart thing. You think you
Yeah.
have, but
yeah.
it's
really
another
the
level.
broken up sleep thing. That's what drives. That's
It's
what's gonna
just-
kill
it
me. Is
doesn't
like
end.
if I could just like get a solid 5 hours, like I'm good.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's not gonna happen.
No.
I know. It's
like,
gonna
when
be
you-
every hour or two.
Yeah,
you're
like,
up,
like
and
in
it's
our
like,
life,
all
you can
right.
maybe you can not sleep for like a whole week at a festival, but then you go home and you sleep for 4 days, and you're like, you're
Right.
good, Okay, it was hard in the
Yep.
moment, but then you're fine. And here it's like day after day, night after night. You have a little period where they sleep through the night, and then they regress, and then they come. It's like, oh my god.
Oh man.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, we're preparing ourselves mentally for the
you
challenges,
excited?
but we're stoked. I mean, this was not what I expected to be doing at all this year. Like very surprising turn of events. We love each other, and like we're old enough to do this, and the baby is like, it exists. Like, and it's our baby. Like, so like once we saw it, and like there was no like turning back after that point. It was kind of just like that's
Beautiful.
our baby, and we're gonna do this thing.
You're gonna do
So
a
we've
great
just been
job.
gearing up. Yeah, thank you, man. I
You're gonna be a great
appreciate
dad
that.
for sure.
Thank you.
You
I'm
got
excited.
good dad vibes.
Hell yeah. I feel like I've been preparing for this for longer than I thought, I've always
Nice.
been a big dad guy, I've been an
love
uncle for like 2 years now, 2 or
Oh,
3
nice.
years now. So like
Nice.
my sister, my younger sister she's 2 years younger than me, and she had her first like 2 years ago, and she just had her second 3 months ago.
Wow.
So yeah, we get to have kids in the same
That's
year,
nice.
which is
That's
really
so nice.
cool.
That's so fun.
And yeah, the kids
Having
can
cousins.
grow up together.
Is she in Denver as
and-
well, your sister?
No, unfortunately,
Mission-
they're out in Pennsylvania, so
Pennsylvania?
they won't get to see each other that much. But
but it's
we'll
close
try and make a
enough. I mean,
conscious
it's not that
effort.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not that
exactly.
bad.
Like they'll see each other like several times a year.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Something
they'll
that
get to kind of grow
we
up
struggle
together.
with so much living in America. Like, we're probably gonna end up moving closer to Israel just because of that. Like, just my wife's brother had a baby. My sister's now pregnant, and it's like, okay, well, they're babies, like whatever. They don't really have to interact, but like once they reach a certain age, it's like I grew up with my cousins. It was so nice, It's such a nice thing, and like
Me
the
too.
grandparents
Yeah.
only get to see him like twice a year, once a year. So it's like
Yeah.
it becomes harder as they get older. Of like we really want to be close to family,
Yeah.
So it's
No, we're
it's
struggling
nice,
with that too.
you're only a few hours. That's doable.
Well, no, it's further. No, it's further than that. Denver
Why?
to Pennsylvania, it's like
4 hours?
20 hours. 20 hours driving. Well, you can fly in 4 hours. Yeah.
driving. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
we're
but you can fly.
flying, yeah, but like we
2
got
hours.
limited funds, like limited
enough, fair
time,
enough.
limited funds,
Fair enough.
so like we'll make it out there a couple times a year for
Fair
sure,
enough.
but like it's not like they'll be able to see each other like every
it's
month
tough.
or
Yeah,
whatever, So
Also,
like
we've
thought
where's
about
your
moving closer to our
partner's
family.
family from?
She's in LA. All her family is in LA.
Okay,
so our
so you're right in
family
the
is on
middle.
opposite ends of the country. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So I
funny.
mean, we're thinking about staying right here just because like I said, like it's so much easier to have a VJ career here in Denver. I don't really know how I would be able to have the amount of work that I have
Somewhere else.
anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have to kind of pivot to something a little different, like I would have to be doing something visual adjacent and not so much like VJ sets. I'd have to like dive into trying to do like corporate projector mapping projects or something like that, which I may do, in a couple of years, like once I'm all VJ'd out. if I'm all VJ'd out. I don't know. I love this shit. So like,
Yeah.
we'll see if I ever give it up. And honestly, I think it'll be kind of cool to have like a little kid to bring to shows and stuff.
Totally.
And,
Hey, you'll never give it up.
backstage is Red
You'll always
Rocks
do
and
it,
all that.
but you might,
Yeah, but it might not be my primary source of income
it might not be your primary
anymore.
source of income. And also you'll see, I think well, I mean, I guess you're already at the point of your career where you're doing a lot of big things, but like, sometimes like, you said it before, actually really nicely of like, because you're so eclectic with your visuals, then you can do lots of different things. But there are some things that you can't do that you might want to do, like a massive projection mapping on a massive architectural building, or like,
Right.
Maybe making content for a massive event or something like that you
Right.
would have to branch out from that to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, like you take it as it comes and as it goes. And
Yeah.
if you're enjoying what you're doing, then that's the biggest blessing that anybody could ever have,
Yeah.
enjoying what you're doing and
No, I
being
do
good
love
at it is like the best thing ever.
Yeah. Thank you. No, yeah, I do feel very blessed and lucky to be able to do what I love. And I do want to be able to continue to do that. But, like I got other priorities now. So
Of course.
things are changing a little bit.
course.
It's not all about just being able to VJ all the time. Part of me
not
is
all
like, I
about
kind of
you,
want to be
Dave.
able to like,
It's not all about
exactly,
you.
yeah. So
You're gonna
now there's
you're
like
gonna have
another
a wife.
little life.
It's gonna be about
Yeah.
her, and then the
Yep.
baby as well.
Exactly. Yep. That's where we're at. So it's like, so that's why it's like, I do want to work on learning more of these skills where I can like do more work from home. I think what I'm really going to try to lean into more now is working on time-coded segments, because that's very like VJ-esque,
Right,
like
you're
it
still
takes
doing
the
it.
VJ mind and the VJ skills. You're
But you
just
don't
like
have to be
building
there.
like a
You
VJ
can just
moment.
send it off. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you can charge, for time at home,
Yeah.
basically
It's
on your
a whole lot
computer
of
doing
design
stuff.
and
So
programming and stuff.
yeah, exactly. So the more stuff like that I can do, I've done a lot of like promo animations and stuff in the past, and I do want to get more into projection mapped installations, and so, but right now I just have William, who's kind of approaching opportunities in the music industry. I do kind of want to bring on another person to approach like projection mapping opportunities, like another salesperson to go after a different realm of things, and then also probably eventually expand the team of creatives as well once there's work coming in from all angles, like
Hit me up.
hopefully we get enough people, like, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, hopefully, like, that's what I would really love to do, is to be able to scale, like truly
Yeah.
scale in every
Have more
direction.
people in a team. Yeah.
Like have more work in every area of what I do, to the point where I can't do it myself.
Yes.
And
that's
then
the best.
and I can also afford to hire people.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like I don't quite have enough work in all the different areas
spread it.
to afford to spread that out. But like that is the goal. And I'm realizing now with William that I think all that it's going to take to reach that goal is some dedicated salespeople.
Sales.
Some people who are out there like getting the
Totally.
gigs. And then once we have like gigs coming in, then I can be like, all right, now you guys can come in. Like I have
Yeah.
work for you.
Yeah.
And I've done it a little bit already. Like the projects with Ellis Dream and Closey. Like, I worked with both Glass Crane and Architect on both of those.
Nice.
And leaned on them pretty heavily for a lot of the 3D content too, because
Nice.
one, because they have more experience in it, and
Yeah.
two, because I was also at the time out on the road doing DJ gigs, so like I literally can't do it all. Even if I could do it all, I can't do it all. So like that's kind of where I'm getting to, where I'm like, do I really need to learn all this other stuff, or do I just need to get a better sales department so that I can bring in gigs for stuff and then hire people to do it and not even need to do it myself, but just kind of be a part of the process where I can help the artist to, figure out what VJ content they want, and then work with the creator to make sure that content is, like fitting the
up to spec.
the
or,
vision of the exactly, like that. It's going to match what the artist wants, and also it's going to be a good VJ-able piece.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Clips
Like something
and
that's going to
loops.
look good on an LED wall.
Yeah.
Loops and like nice dynamic camera movement, and like good contrast and lighting and all this stuff. Like I know what looks good on an LED wall, so I can play that interim role without necessarily needing to know how everything is done at the bottom level of the 3D design. I can
Totally.
help design what the clip should be and should look like, and and same with projection mapping installations too. Like if I can high level design what one of these projection mapping installs should be like, but like you're saying, like if it's a giant architecture, I don't necessarily know how to like get a 3D scan of that and make it break up and fall apart. But I know the people who do. So if we can get enough of that work coming in, I can just hire the people and build the team. I've got the network to do any job
to do anything.
This space.
So
like there's really truly nothing that I can't do.
Sales
and I'm at the point where I don't turn down any opportunities. I'm like, if there's something, I mean, unless it's like the pay is shit, but like if it's a good opportunity, even if it's something that's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, I'm like, yeah, we can
I'll learn it. I'll figure it out.
Either I'll figure it out or I'll hire the right people. I'll make sure that what you want gets done. And that's what they're coming to me for, is to actualize. To make sure that it works. Name of the movie. But yeah, and I just love being a part of bringing those projects to fruition too. Like I don't necessarily need to be hands-on. I get just as much fulfillment out of like directing a project and seeing that content make it to the screen for a big artist and create an impactful moment. I do want to learn more, to do more of it myself. Like I would love to be more involved in the process, but it's a slow thing because
there's different
of how
ways
much
to be
I'm
involved
doing.
in the process. You don't have to be at the hands-on computer person. You can also be a big brain creative director, art director. There's a lot of ways to be involved in the process, or even just more technical.
Right. Yeah, and everybody has their piece, and that's why I've kind of realized more that it's like embracing what you love to do and what you want to do and what you're good at, instead of trying to learn every single thing that's out there, and then just realizing that you have the support of these other people if you can get the budget to pay for them. Has really helped me a lot, because honestly there was a time as a VJ where I had confidence issues because I didn't make all my own content. I would see all these VJs making all their own awesome content, and I'd be like, man, I'm not
I want to do that.
I can't
I'm not an
I can't do that.
whatever.
So I'm exactly. I'm not an artist. Because I can't do that. I can't, whatever. But then I slowly came to realize that there are things that I'm better at than they are. There are still some things that, where I've dedicated my time because of the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
I've learned to grow these skills in this other area, whereas they love to do this other thing, and so they've learned skills in this area.
Yeah.
And so for us to all do what we want to do and love to do, it doesn't necessarily require learning every single thing.
Totally.
And sometimes it feels like a chore, to like some software. I'm just man, I don't this is just hard, and it's not exciting me, I feel like I'm just banging my head against the wall. That's kind of where it came to with coding with me, is I'm just I don't love doing this, I can do it, but is this what I want to do? And now with the whole visual thing, it's I have all these people who are so good at this stuff already, to the point where I am never going to be able to catch up to them.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to, there's no catching Architect. That dude is friggin' insane.
He's insane.
His renders are
He's so young
as
too.
hell.
What the fuck?
I know. It's insane.
It's
I didn't even know what a computer was when I was this age.
Yeah.
Not really, but.
Well, Dave.
But anyways, yeah.
Is there anything you would like to plug or say at the end? We're just getting to the end here, and it was lovely talking to you. Really, really, really nice. And I think it's a good place to end. So,
same.
Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
If anybody wants private Resolume lessons, you can go sign up for them directly on my website. You can even just schedule a time slot and pay for it right on my website, and it'll go into my calendar. And, we can do one-on-ones, and I can help you figure out whatever you need to know in Resolume.
Dave is an amazing teacher.
Yeah, thank you. And, especially things if you want to learn advanced output for bigger stages, or if you just want to learn how to, optimize your Resolume setup to make it easier to mix. If you just want to learn some new tricks for creating custom effect stacks, I would love to, do a session with you guys and show you what I can. And yeah, other than that, I hope to see you all out in the world. And if you ever see me, come say hi. And I would love to hear that you watch this podcast, and let's be friends.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun just getting to chat about all this stuff. And, I love this world that we live in and these things that we get to do so much. And it's so cool to be able to have a podcast, So thank you again for just doing this whole thing and giving us all a platform to get on and talk about what we nerd out about,